Are you in the waiting room? I don't see you. Just a second. And then we'll see if you can hear me, okay? Where are you? Can you hear me, Greg?
No, I can't.
Really? Shepard is connecting audio and can't hear you. Why can't?
Well, I see Kim Woodward and Garrett Olson, Eric Page.
Okay, why can't anybody hear me?
I can hear you, Kelly.
There we
Kelly?
go.
Kelly, I can hear you.
You can hear me.
I can.
Okay, let me admit
I can hear
everybody.
Eric too.
Who's making the noise?
Sorry, that's probably me.
Yeah. Well, it's recording now, so.
I'll mute.
Okay, thanks.
Kelly, you can mute everybody as the host.
Yeah. I have everybody but Shelley and let me see here. I see. That's funny.
I'm just doing a little sound check. Can anybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you.
Hear you.
All right, Deputy Garland, is that a Aussie?
Yeah, I just got home from work and both of them are trying to get in my lap when I'm sitting here.
Yeah, I know. Mine do the same. I got 170-pound and 121-pound.
I'm a 70-pound and a 55-pound.
Whoa!
Hey, you guys, can we mute just for until it starts? Because this is recording and the lady's got to do the minute. So I appreciate it. Thanks.
Mr. Page?
everybody. It's gonna be a couple of minutes. We gotta get Jim on here, okay? Hold tight.
Only one person?
No, there's 44 people. Nobody's talking.
You have your volume on?
Yeah.
Setting it up.
Okay. Where are you, Jim?
You're muted, Jim.
Trying to find him here. Where did
He's
he?
there.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
So,
There we go.
thank you. And sorry about that. Couldn't load the right computer, right number. I call the Tuesday, February 9th, 2021 meeting of the Detroit City Council regular meeting to order at 6:35 p.m. City Council roll call.
Counselor Tim Luke,
Counselor Shelley Engel,
Counselor Michelle Tisdale,
Counselor Eric Page.
Mayor Jim Trett, Emergency Preparedness. And Shep, I think you're muted, but I heard you say you're here through the wall. So we'll go with that.
Let me see if I can find him.
Kelly, can you mute? There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna unmute him if I can find him here. Hold on.
Okay, thanks. Then could you mute you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, declarations of interest and ex parte contact. Announcements. And I would like to announce that Bill Monahan, City's legal counsel, is here this evening. Going from there. Vacant council seat. Vacancy in the city council shall be filled by an appointment of majority of the council. Kelly, I'm sorry.
What's that?
We're looking at the applications for to fill the city vacancy council seat.
Okay. Didn't get your office today. So what would you like me to do? Just go through these or?
Yes, please.
Okay. So we have Vicky Larson Hills.
I'm here.
Yep. Hi, Vicky. It was a full-time resident in Detroit, 220 Detroit Road. She has been a council person or council member last year. She is registered in Detroit for Detroit. Her license, driver's license, these are all the qualifications you need to be qualified to be a council person, counselor, I should say. Her address on her driver's license says her Detroit address and her PO box. And that's another qualification, is that your mail goes to an address or PO box in Detroit. Okay. So next would be Todd Smith, who's currently a planning commissioner or planning commission. He also is a full-time resident and is qualified with his driver's license, and he's registered to vote in Detroit. So those are the qualifications, and I should probably read what the qualifications are for the officers. That would probably be good for everyone to know. Let me see here. And this is in the position that is being replaced, or who we're appointing today is a full-time resident, because they're replacing John Manthe, who is a full-time resident. No person shall be eligible for an elective office of the city unless at the time of his election he is a qualified elector within the meaning of the state constitution and has a residence inside the city limits of the city of Detroit, Oregon, during the 12 months immediately preceding the election. No city employee who receives compensation from the city shall hold a city elective office. No person who holds the office of municipal judge shall hold another city elective or appointed office. So this is additional residency requirement for primary resident. Must reside in the city a minimum of 6 months plus 1 day per calendar year. Must be registered to vote in the city of Detroit. Must receive official mail, including federal and state tax information returns at their city of Detroit, Oregon mailing address. Driver's license or state ID must be issued to their Detroit, Oregon address. Must be able to attend 9 out of 12 regular city council meetings in a calendar year. Those are the requirements. So Vicky Larson Hills and Todd Smith are qualified from what documentation that I do have. The third applicant is David Danielson, excuse me. There is a excuse me. Oh, the address on his driver's license is a little confusing. It says 210 South Patton Road, which doesn't exist. I don't know why, if that was just a mistake or what that is. The voter profile report has 210 Patton Street South, which doesn't exist. So I'm not sure what has happened there. And it's my understanding that he, well, he told me that he was started to be a full-time resident in Detroit in March of 2020, which makes it not a year. He has to be here 1 year prior to be appointed. And the counselors have, you guys will have all the applications. So it's up to the council to appoint a new counselor.
Mayor Trent?
Yes.
I was wondering, this is Michelle, Councilor Tisdale. I was wondering if we could ask the applicants to say something for themselves before we vote. Maybe Dave could explain his address. Just hear from each one of them real quick.
Well, we have when this came up, we contacted the legal counsel, and Bill, could you give us some input here? Bill Monahan?
He has to unmute.
Bill, you got to unmute.
Bill, you're muted.
Where did he go? There he is.
He's there.
Sorry, I was having difficulty finding that button. It moved up in the top. Sorry. Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Monahan. I'm your city attorney. And yes, I've had a chance to take a look at your charter, and Kelly's done a very good job of reading what the qualifications are. And the qualifications are very clear for elective positions, that a person who is elected, or if they're assuming a position to fill a vacancy, it's required that they be, at the time of that point of becoming a council member, be a qualified elector within the state and have residency during the 12 months prior, or in the instance that's been defined for the, I think it's defined as non-primary resident, someone can be less than 12 months. My understanding is that you already have 2 members of council who fill the non-primary residence category. As a result, any one of the 3 candidates who you have before you tonight would be disqualified if they cannot provide proof that they have been a resident of the city for the last 12 months. Now, you have the ability under your charter, this is section 12, subsection 5, that the city council is the judge of the qualifications and the election of the elected city officers. So that's why this is before you to take a look at the information that's been provided in the submittals, and it's your determination as to whether or not someone qualifies or not. Now, you had to base this on the best evidence in front of you. If you don't have sufficient information to show that one or more of the candidates has meets those qualifications, it's possible that that person may need to wait an additional point in time or provide some other documentation and be ready for either a future election or, if a vacancy becomes available, for consideration for that appointment. That's the information I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So there's no questions. With that clarification, that leaves only one person that is officially a permanent resident.
Yeah, excuse me, I think we verified 2.
When I just want to make sure that the licenses that we saw are those verifications for addresses. I mean, for the 6 months plus 1 day. What are we using as the qualifications for permanent? Because we do need that for sure permanent person.
Well, do we have an answer on that?
I see one DMV is January 27, 2021. Is that considered permanent?
We have in the past, what we're looking at primarily is have they been in town for a year? 6 months plus a day of the previous year. So in this case, it would be 2020. Have they been a resident living in town for 6 months and 1 day? And if the driver's license gets changed a little bit later, that's been okay. Only if they have. We've had that happen before. But the big thing for our city folks seems to be that they have to be in town for 6 months and a day to qualify as a full-time resident.
So there might be issues between Dave Danielson, is what I'm hearing from Kelly, because of the date. Well, I think Todd's is the same. I think they're both in the same situation if we're going along with driver's license.
Just for your knowledge, I do have Mr. Smith's CPI bills that show that they were there from January to well, up until we had the fire.
Were CPI bills required for the application?
No, they weren't required, but it's proof that, it's some type of proof that they were there, and it from consistently. So I just put that in because that's what I received as well, for proof that he was there.
Well, if we're comparing all three at the same level without showing any favoritism, the licenses of 2 don't qualify. That means only one person qualifies as permanent.
Just one. Is everybody missing the point that there is no 210 Sandy Am, of which I looked at on the application? That address does not exist, and it's on Mr. Danielson's driver's license, and that address doesn't exist anywhere within the city. So whether it's mistake or not or whatever, from my perspective, he is disqualified at this point.
Councilor Engel?
I also happen to know that Mr. Danielson does not have a structure to live in Detroit because he was demanded by the city to tear it down and haul it out. And his address that he's indicating on Patton Street does not exist. I believe Counselor Page misspoke when he said Santiam.
I'm
but
sorry.
There is not an address that exists that demonstrates that. Plus, many of us city councilors know that Mr. Danielson had no home to live in prior to March to give him a year's residency because he had to tear out his trailer because it was deemed a dangerous structure. I also know that Mr. Smith has lived in a house prior to Labor Day in Detroit for a year, regardless if he has failed to change the address on his driver's license, which he probably will be doing fairly soon from now.
No, it's done now, according to what we're seeing.
So
I'd like to make a motion. We move to the vote for the 2 counselors that are qualified.
I have a motion to make a vote to make a motion to go to the vote for the 2 counselors who qualify.
I'd like to make a motion and vote Vicky Larson Hills.
No, it's not. That's not the motion yet.
Okay.
The motion, I have a motion to move to the vote of the 2 counselors who qualify. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Counselor Engel. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Moving along, we now have 2 applicants before us. Vicky Larson Hills and Todd Smith. Discussion on those.
I'll make that motion again with for Vicky Larson Hills.
Have a motion to appoint Vicky Larson Hills. Do I have
I'll
a second?
second that.
Second, Counselor Shepherd. Discussion.
Vicky was the only one out of the 2 that actually lost her primary home, and they're still looking for a home, but I think she totally qualifies for a full-time resident.
Okay. I would point out that, and just a point of clarification, Todd Smith, that was his primary home also. Counselor Page.
I'm going to, well, we're still on the issue of Vicky, so I'll retract that.
Okay. Any
I'd
further?
like to add something. This is Counselor Tesdale.
Tesdale.
Vicky has experience right in front of me. I don't think we can go wrong with either person. I mean, Todd's a good person too. I don't think they could steer us wrong, but she's got more experience. And Todd just got onto planning commission, so he is helping out the city already. And it just depends on how strict you want to be with the 6 months plus 1 day. And I don't know if we need to get into that or not, but I was a permanent resident, and permanent residents know who's around for 6 months plus 1 day. And I don't think that that's being fair right now to Vicky, because she actually was a permanent resident for a full years.
Okay. Counselor Page.
I think that issue has probably been well defined as to where we stand on the residency on both these people. And, without disregard to Vicky, who did serve on council and did a fine job. I do have to say I'm, going to cast my vote in the direction of Todd. I think Todd can probably handle the job, and I think in the future there's opportunity, Vicky, to return to council. I'm not sure why she left council, but the last time around, but nonetheless, I'm casting my vote for Todd Smith.
Further discussion.
Well, just point of clarification, we are on a motion to vote for Vicky Hills Larson, correct?
Vicky Larson Hills, yes.
Okay. And you have seconded and we're at discussion.
Yes, Counselor.
Thank you.
Counselor Shepherd. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
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 Okay. Abstentions? Counselor Luke, did you vote? You're muted.
Can they say their names as well? We don't know who I
Okay.
is. Yeah. thank-
Sorry.
Okay, all those in favor of appointing Counselor Vicky Larson Hill, say aye.
Aye.
By
Aye.
your name, I'm sorry, by roll call. I'm just going to go across my screen. Counselor Page,
Nay.
Counselor Engel,
Nay.
Counselor Tesdale,
Aye.
Counselor Luke,
Aye.
Counselor Shepherd,
Aye.
and I vote nay. So we have a 3-3 tie. And according to charter, we don't have a way to break that. Counselor Bill?
So Mayor, I think the motion has failed, but that does not prevent you from having further discussion.
No, thank you.
And then having potentially another motion.
Thank you. Counselor Engel.
I make a motion that we vote for Mr. Todd Smith appoint him as city councillor.
Motion, Counselor Engel to appoint Todd Smith as a counselor. Second,
Second.
Counselor Page, discussion.
I want to thank Mr. Smith for the time that he has put onto the Planning Commission, just as Councillor Larson Hills also has been served, and as Councillor Tesdale has served. And sometimes we serve on certain commissions for a long time and sometimes for not very long at all. It makes everybody equally qualified because everybody is equally interested in the best for the city. So I think everyone who is currently volunteering, regardless of what role they have at this time, but everybody is sort of equally qualified for the next position as well. So thank you.
I'll recognize myself. I like both of these people very much. And the reason I lean towards Counselor or to Mr. Smith is because Vicky has been on the council, and yes, she is very qualified. And I wish I'd have thought of this before 6:15 tonight, but she left council because she was trying to rebuild or build her business, which is very understandable. And we're going to have some really weird meetings in the coming future. And with Mr. Smith's availability and his expertise, I think they both would be excellent on the council, and but just have to go with that availability. So, further discussion. All those in favor of appointing Todd Smith to the to the city council vacancy, please answer, vote when your name is called. I'm just going to go like I did before. Counselor Page?
Aye.
Counselor Engel?
Aye.
Counselor Tesdale?
Nay.
Counselor Luke? Counselor Luke? Counselor Shepherd?
Nay.
Counselor Luke?
Nay.
Okay, we now have a 3-3 tie. So here we go. Now, Bill, this is where I should have waited for.
So this, of course, gives you still more opportunity to decide, do you have some information that might help you to determine if one of these two candidates can receive at least four votes from the present members of council. So you have a couple options. You could perhaps ask each of the candidates to make a statement if they're both present tonight, or the council could have further discussion about what are the characteristics that are most important to the council, and perhaps you can reach agreement that one candidate has more of the attributes that you're looking for than the other, and then someone could make a motion after some discussion.
All right, is Vicky Larson Hills here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and is Todd Smith here?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Vicki Larson Hills.
I just wanted to make a statement this evening and thank you for giving me a chance to speak. I have been on your council for the last 4 years. I did fill a position as a permanent resident for that time. While I was on council, I was president of the council for a year before Commissioner Engel was voted in. I also have been on your employee subcommittee for at least 2 years, working to help with new hires, do employee reviews, and to review the employee handbook, which we have nearly done. And that's a position that I would love to step right back into. Also, I have a bachelor's degree in business management. I think that lends itself well, along with my master's degree in social work, which allows me to see things through a social justice lens. I've worked with the council to get it to where we could have tiny homes in Detroit. I've worked alongside of the council while we made approvals for the water project, and to address Mayor Trett, very dear friend of mine, love the man to death. But the reason I didn't rerun again is because we weren't in this crisis situation. We did have the water system in place and that project was going along. And so I let my voting lapse. I just didn't run again because I thought that there were other people in town that were permanent residents that were going to be interested in carrying it on. I had no idea of the catastrophic event that was coming our way and how much it was going to be needed to help out and to make these decisions on what our town looks like. I do want to make sure everyone understands that I have been a permanent resident for many years. I moved up there approximately 5 years ago, and I did live full-time in Detroit. It was my primary residence, and I was there all of 2020 up until the hour that the fires came over the rim, and then we had to leave. We didn't have a choice. So I just want to share with you, and if tonight you guys decide to elect Todd, you know, I think both of us are excellent candidates. So whatever you guys decide is in the best interest of Detroit. I'm just happy to help serve alongside of you. One last part I think that's important for you to know is I am very available to go into the our office that we have right now in Staten when staff need checks signed or need anything to be done on the employee subcommittee or all of those things that they sometimes need a counselor available to do. I have most every morning that I can go there. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, Todd.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. The reason that I am running for this position is because I do believe that the City Council does need to come together as one team. And I think I would be remiss for not saying that it does not feel like it is that way now. And I think I can help bridge that gap for the team and bring some new thinking to a town that definitely needs to be thinking outside the box and different ways of getting things done. I've had our place up there for about 12 and a half years now, and lived up there this past year most of the time. And I too think Vicki Larson Hills would be a great candidate. I don't think you guys could go wrong with either, but I think of the ability to think outside the box and do things a little bit different, I think is something that we need now to move forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Discussion, Councilor Engel.
I would like to hear from Vicki Larson Hills why, if she chose not to run, is she now 4 months later asking to be appointed when she very intentionally chose to leave her position and not run again?
Okay, before I do that, Bill, is that going to be appropriate for them to respond to questions?
Well, I think it's appropriate, Mayor, if you choose to allow the other members of council to ask similar questions of either one or both candidates, as long as you have a fair process to get to know each of the candidates and have them be able to make their statements adequately, I think that's fine.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So Counselor Engel, go ahead and ask your questions officially now. Sorry.
Oh gee, I'll see if I can remember how to say it again.
All right.
I know that Vicky Hills chose to not run again, to not put her name on the ballot. And now with an appointing, she is putting her hat back in the ring. And I'm curious to know why she chose not to run, but now she wants to be appointed in the circumstances. I'm just curious why she wants to be appointed now when she chose not to run.
At the time that I made the decision to not run, I had no idea that the needs of the council were going to be so great. I felt like at that time that we had just completed a major project, which, you know, it was still in the works of being completed, but we had done all the work as part of council to put the water project in place. And so I, at that time, when I was in the springtime, had no idea that this large catastrophic event was going to happen in our community. And there was going to be so much work on city council to be invested to rebuild our town and to be a part of the rebuilding. So at that time, there were other permanent residents that were showing interest in running. And I felt like the needs were met. It didn't mean that I wasn't going to run again in the future. It just means that at that particular moment, I chose not to. The reason that I'm choosing to now is because I feel like with my experience that it really lends itself well to getting things done and for following the process that we have in place to rebuild our city and for what it looks like in the future.
I have a question.
Counselor Tesdale?
Yes. This is along the lines of Shelley's question, just aimed at Todd. Hey, Todd, neighbor. I was wondering if you were interested in the council, why you didn't run during the regular election.
Why I didn't run during the regular election. To be honest with you, I had decided and talked to some people on the council and decided that the planning commission would be a good place to start for me until I got a little bit more ground under me. And obviously with the fires and everything that sped things up to where now I feel as if I am ready and prepared. I think with my history with the United States Army and team building and everything else, and like I said prior to, I think the city council, we do need somebody to bring both sides together. And like I said, this has been brought to me by several citizens along with myself. I see it, and I think the city council have to work as one. And right now we're working as two. And I don't think this town's going to get where we need to be as quick as we need to be that way. So I hope that answers your question.
You did, thanks.
Any other questions? Counselor Engel?
This is the same question for both Mr. Smith and Larson and Ms. Larson Hills. Is what specific skill, not background, let me put it this way, not background serving on city council and not that kind of a thing, but what specific skills can each of you bring right now to help the city of Detroit recover with its need for infrastructure, with organization, with project management? What skills can each of you bring to city council?
Can I ask that Mr. Smith go first, please?
Okay, Todd?
Thank you, Vicky. When we're talking skill set, I've mentioned the team building and I'm a quick learner. I know that we have 2 new city council members on there now that are learning as well. I think helping each other on the way up would really help the city council. And I'm excited to be a part of city council and help during the rebuild. I think my energy and my flexibility and time to make meetings, to be in Detroit, to talk to people, see how people are feeling. I'm very personable, and I feel as if people really like to talk to me and open up about how they're feeling. I think that's something city council has been asking for, not only with city hall type meeting, but to have it even before then with some of the things that the citizens are saying. So.
For myself, specifically with skill set, as most of you know, I am a therapist. And so the reason that I'm very successful in that business is because I have the ability to build relationships instantly. I'm really strong in communication, both verbally and in writing. I also have advanced classes directly in project management as part of my bachelor's degree. Like I'd mentioned before, I've worked on projects that I helped determine policy and procedure when we got the tiny homes in place and worked on different policies. I'm really strong at interpreting policy. I have a huge background in working on both state and federal government interpretation of policies and procedures. And then just being a part of Detroit, having built lots of relationships there, I feel like the strength that I would bring is my ability to bring people together and help move projects forward.
Okay.
Counselor Page.
For Mr. Smith, just I want to clarify a couple things myself. Are you currently retired, Todd?
Yes.
When did you retire?
May of well, I had a severance package, but that just ran out. So technically my last day at my employer was in April.
And you were employed in communications industry?
Yeah, for Comcast.
Comcast. How many years were you with them?
20.
What in the 20 years with Comcast, what type of things were your main duties, so to speak? Budget, was there budgetary, building issues? What any of those type of things, or?
Yeah, I was in charge of a team, and we were in charge of creating our own budget, adhering to it, creating incentives, training people how to do the job, reading blueprint, on top of staying with the ever-evolving technological field.
Sure. So you've got a pretty good, you're up to speed technically pretty well, which from my perspective, the city's always in an evolving need for a technology upgrade. Thank you.
Any questions? Counselor Engel? You're muted.
I know.
Shelley, you're muted.
I know. I have a question again for both of you, and I'd like Vicki Hills to go first. And this is the question for both of you. Vicki, what have you done for the city or involved with the city since the fires?
I've helped coordinate the donation center that's happening out of the storage units. I was there the day that the trucks showed up and offloaded and organized the storage units up there, and have helped to coordinate with the women that have taken it over to run that, and worked from that angle. I've also attended SIT meetings. That is those meetings where they've made decisions about donations and addressed the needs of the community. I've also been in touch with Gates Church and coordinated specific donations. And then I also made sure and coordinated with another group that were completely outfitting homes with resupply so that they got all their kitchen, their bedware, all of those types of things, and made sure that 4 families were able to have the basic needs met for their
Just like
alternate living.
Masters of Social Work.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm huge in social justice.
And Mr. Smith, can you answer the same question, please?
Yes, I was down at the fairgrounds trying to help people get set up, doing clothes drives, food drives. We had several people come down that brought us dog food for the pets that were there. I've also been working with the Marion County Commissioners and have a very good relationship with them. Just trying to get the future and what's, what does the future look like for our town and the canyon. But yeah, I've been working with a lot of the displaced people up until when they left the fairground. So.
Thank you.
Okay, my question for both is, I probably know the answer, but I just want it on the record. When we can rebuild, can you confirm that you are going to move back to town? Or is that still a question that's in the air for you individually?
I can go first on that one. We are definitely coming back. We are in the first stages with our builder, and we have our first level of plans, and now we're going to meet with them again to start the building process. Our hope was by spring to start to break ground, pending permitting and everything else that we have to jump through. So.
Okay, thank you. Vicki?
We do plan to rebuild something on our lot, but at this time, it was just too complicated to start that process. So we are obtaining a home closer to the valley until we can rebuild in Detroit, because we needed more permanent housing.
Okay. Further discussion, further questions? Further discussion? Do I hear a motion? Councilor Engel.
I make.
Councilor Engel.
I will allow Councillor Page to go.
I'd like to make a motion that we move to a vote.
Motion to vote. Move to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, so I need a motion to what we're doing, who we're going to vote on. What are we voting?
I'd like to make a motion that we vote for Todd Smith for City Council.
Motion to approve, appoint Todd Smith to Detroit City Council. Second.
Second.
Councilor Engel. Discussion. Answer is your name is called. Councilor Page.
Aye.
Councilor Engel.
Aye.
Councilor Tesdale.
Nay.
Councilor Luke.
Nay.
Councilor Shepherd.
Nay.
I vote aye. Mr. Monahan.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, you're at that point where you might have reached an impasse at this point in time. So you can construct whatever method you choose. You can either continue to have debate tonight to see if you can reach some resolution to appoint someone from the existing candidates, or you could choose to defer a decision to a later date and either solicit additional information or consider opening the process up to consider additional applicants who qualify under the residency rules.
Okay, discussion.
I'd like to open it up to more applicants,
Tisdale?
if that's a choice. Yes, Councilor Tesdale, sorry. I'd like to make a motion to open it up to more candidates if that's an option.
Second,
I'll second that.
second, Counselor Shepard. Discussion?
Can I speak?
Not at this time, Vicky, I'm sorry.
I like this, Counselor Tesdale again. You know, it'd be really helpful to have someone that's actually living in Detroit right now. If they're interested, apply. If we are open to more applications, because I believe that the people that are there actually know what's going on. I think 50% of our council didn't have their homes burned down and 50% did. And there is a division in our council, and I'm experiencing that right now. And you're seeing it in front of you. I believe that if we could have new applicants and maybe someone would that's living there right now could be a part of this, I think it could be someone that'd be open-minded and not create voting blocks.
Counselor Page.
These are trying times without question. I'm 2.5 years into being a councilman in Detroit and would never imagine to be in the middle of this level of a crisis. I can tell you for a fact, I have burned up and down the highway a substantial amount during and following the fires. I think it is time that this council takes a hard look as they're making their vote, and there is no disregard intended in any direction. But I do know that there were times where, you know, from a time standpoint, it was indicated that, you know, Vicky had a fair amount on her plate. Nothing against Vicky. She did stay within her guidelines to be, you know, attend council meetings and has always certainly been an asset there. However, for the council to continue on at the rate that it's going is detrimental to moving forward with the crisis of which we find ourselves in. And therefore, I would plead with the councilors to think deeply about this. I believe that obviously Todd Smith has come forward as a bit of a freshman, but I believe he has the energy, the time since he's retired, and the tenacity to help move this thing forward and bring some cohesion to this council. And every one of you councilors had better be looking at the cohesion tonight very, very closely, because if we go down the road and kick this can for another session and wait without the cohesion of council in place, you are doing a detriment to your city and what your job is. Thank you. I'll reiterate my vote for Todd Smith. No disregard for Vicky.
I do have that listener. I'm going to recognize Vicky Larson Hills. Vicky.
Sorry, getting it off of unmute.
That's all right.
I'm wondering if it's permissible for me to just secede at this point to Mr. Smith and say, to allow him to be elected into the position, or to be appointed into the position, not elected.
That is your prerogative to withdraw.
Okay, I withdraw.
Okay, thank you. So, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we elect Todd Smith to the position of council.
Motion, Counselor Page, to appoint Todd Smith to the city council. Second?
Second that.
Second, Counselor Shepard. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Yes, we do have, and I hope we can get things better. moving along, because we have a long agenda. Yep, sorry,
Mayor Truett, just
Councilor Engel.
quickly. It's important that we go on record and we thank Ms. Vicky Larson Hills for her effort, for all that she has done for the city of Detroit, and that all she will continue to do for the city of Detroit, and especially for her graciousness in helping us move forward at this time.
I could not concur anymore. And that, I will say, was the move of a professional counselor. And I would welcome you back into the city politics or the city governing or on any board at any time, because that was a fourth righteous move for the city. Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.
Jim, do we need to do the oath of office for
Yes.
Todd? Okay. Todd, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Kelly.
Oh, okay. So this is the oath of office. I, Todd Smith,
I, Todd Smith,
swear that I will support the constitutions and laws of the United States,
swear that I will support the Constitution and the laws of the United States,
the state of Oregon, and the city of Detroit,
state of Oregon, and the city of Detroit,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties of Detroit City Councilor.
and I will faithfully perform
The duties.
of the Detroit City Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Vicky.
You're welcome.
Jim, you're muted.
Sorry. Moving along, approval of the city council minutes of the regular meeting of January 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to accept those minutes.
Councilor Tesdale moves to accept the minutes of January 12th, 2021. Second.
Second.
Second, Councilor Page. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of the City of Detroit's City Council special session of Friday, January 22nd, 2021.
There's one little thing I'd like to make a correction on. Jerry Whaley didn't work for the Oregon Department of Forestry. He actually works for ODOT. And I met him about 22 years ago. We used to plow snow over the Santiam Pass together. And he's been working in concert with Gary from American Underground, logging in different areas of Detroit. I just wanted to make that correction.
Do I have a motion to accept a special session of the City Council of Friday, January 22nd, 2021 as amended?
I make a motion, we accept them as amended.
Motion, Councilor Page, to accept the minutes. Second, Councilor Engel.
Councilor Engel. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of the bills payable list for the current month.
I make a motion, we pay the bills.
Have a motion to pay the bills. Second,
Second.
Councilor Engel. Discussion.
Mayor Trent, this is
Yes.
Councilor Tesdale.
Councilor Tesdale.
Hey, when we pay the bills, I don't see them in our packet. How do we know what we're paying if they're not in our packet?
The bills payable are sent to you by Christine. So she pays the bills, she prints it out, and she sends it to you. Normally, when we're all together, Michelle, we bring the bills to the meeting, and you guys so I can look through them and sign them at that time, but we're not together, so that's why.
So since Zoom is indefinite right now and we haven't seen the bills, I'm not sure why we're accepting them unless they're sent to us within the packet.
They were. Counselor Tesdale, I received mine on February 5th.
From Christine?
Yeah, well,
He's not sending them to all counselors.
let me proof the email and then I can tell you.
Are we talking about, Michelle, are we talking about the invoices themselves or the actual, what Christine sends you, what the bills payable are?
Whatever you normally do, I am not seeing. So when we make a motion to pay the bills, we don't know what we're paying, or I don't because I'm not getting this.
Counselor Tesdale, you are on this email dated February 4th, as is Counselor Luke.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I would like that resent because I have scrolled through the February 4th packet and I cannot see it.
Well, it came as a separate email as Kelly indicated, but I'll forward it to you right now just so so we can be positive that you are getting it.
Yeah, because I don't see it either.
Yeah, you both received it at your WVI email.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a computer with a WVI email until this afternoon.
Yeah.
Would you two like to put this off? I know it'd be a bear trying to read them during the meeting.
Right.
No, we don't need to, but it'd be great to see those.
Okay, I'm sending them right this very second for you.
Thank you very much.
Happy to do it. You bet.
Great.
And we'll check to make sure. I'm still playing with that WVI thing myself, so we'll talk to Christine and maybe send it both places or something like that until we know what we have with the WVI stuff. So go from there. Okay, your notes, your agenda show that we have supposed to have a joint planning commission, city council public hearing. My understanding is that there was a problem with a quorum of planning commission members, and McCray Carmichael, our city planner, has indicated that we really don't need them. We can go straight to council with this. So I'm going to open a public hearing for the council in regard to legislative amendment to the City of Detroit Development Code LA 20-01. Hearing the disclosure statement. McCray, do you have that?
Let me see.
Mr. Mayor, while you're doing that, can I just raise a question? Do you need me any further in the meeting? Are you going to address the contract item that I sent you yesterday?
I think so, yes.
Okay, then I'll stay on if you'd like to cover that.
Sure would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.
Mayor, are you talking about declarations of ex parte contact, conflict of
It
interest?
says here, hearing disclosure statement read.
Okay, let me see what agenda. Well, there's the disclosure. Oregon land use law requires several items to be read into the record at the beginning of each public hearing. The city planner, myself, will read that to you now. Introduction for everyone on this Zoom call. My name is McCray Carmichael. I'm a planner, a land use planner for the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, and we provide land use services for the city of Detroit. That said, let's get started on legislative amendment 20-01. The applicable criteria upon which this hearing will be decided are found in the Detroit Development Code, section 4.1.5. The specific criteria are summarized in the staff report and will be reviewed during this hearing. Testimony, arguments, and evidence must be directed toward the criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which you believe applies to this decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker or the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval will sufficiently specify to allow the decision makers to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. The hearing will proceed with the staff report followed by you all, City Council, allowing for testimony. All those who are opposed to this application will be allowed to speak, followed by those with general comments who are neither for nor against it. The council and staff may question the application and those who have testified. in this case, the applicant is the city, will then have an opportunity to discuss more and ask me questions. If you have any documents, maps, or letters that you wish to have considered by this body, they must be formally placed in the record of this proceeding. To do that, you would need to do that. You need to, a member of the public would need to request to be able to speak and submit any evidence or testimony they have into the record and online. Prior to the conclusion of this hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony. If such a request is made, it will be up to this body to determine if the hearing will be continued to a time and date certain, or if the record will be kept open for submission of written testimony or evidence. If the record is kept open, it will be open for a minimum of 7 days with a short rebuttal, and then another hearing would be scheduled by the council. So at this point, Mayor, it's for you to ask both the audience and council members. Questions for the audience: are there objections to the notice that was sent in this case? So notice, our process, we've been doing this legislative amendment for several months now, and you all redirected this to Planning Commission last month to have them review and come back with specific recommendations. And that's what I'm presenting to you now. So the question to the council members: are there any declarations of ex parte contact, conflict or interest, or bias by members of the council? Hearing none. Okay, hearing none, I will now submit my staff report into the record for legislative amendment LA 20-01 dated, the report dated February 1st, 2021, hearing date February 9th. The criteria for which you all are reviewing for this legislative amendment is section 4.16 for a type 4 legislative procedure, section 3.63 for recreational vehicles, section 3.8 for accessory structures, and section 5.2.2 for non-conforming structures. And exhibits that were submitted along with the staff report are the draft ordinance, ordinance 266, and transitional housing permit form that will be used if you all proceed with adopting this ordinance. A brief history: we met in November where we had a joint Planning Commission City Council meeting where you all directed COG staff to review several items. You wanted to be able to allow people to be able to come back onto their properties with flexibility. You were looking at immediate responses that we could have to afford property owners flexibility in response to the fires. On December 8th, we came back to City Council with some revised language, and it was reviewed. It was posted to DLCD, and then on January 1st, City Council held a hearing of that draft ordinance, and there were several questions that you all worked through. These involved the limit on the number of people in an RV or temporary structure, allowing the extension of the permit to be 2 years with 2 one-year extensions. You discussed a fee for a permit, and you also discussed that you wanted to allow non-conforming structures damaged or destroyed by the wildfires of 2020, the ability to rebuild within a certain time frame. These were the 4 main items that you all discussed on the ordinance that I brought to you in January, and you directed staff to meet with Planning Commission to have them review and work with me to come up with what they thought was the best solution to these items and recommendations. And so we met on January 26th. And the items in response to the questions you asked, we eliminated the number of people in an RV. It's just not equitable and not something we should be doing, is limiting the number of people who are in one of these, who obtain a transitional housing permit. There will be a one-time application fee of $100, and then if someone needs to get a renewal, there will be a $50 renewal fee. Planning Commission recommended allowing only a 1-year extension, no longer a 2-year extension. They believe that people need to be moving forward to, rebuild and staying on their property and not just having this long-term transitional housing. And that the rebuilding of non-conforming structures be only allowed for 2 years upon the adoption of the ordinance. So with that, I submit my staff report into the record and am happy to answer questions about what is before you now. Yes, Councilor Page.
Thank you. On the non-conforming structure side of this, which I'm assuming is accessory structure, basically is where that isn't that where we're really honing this down to is an accessory structure, an overhang, or some other non-conforming, non-residential type of structure. Is that the bulk of this?
No, I really appreciate that question, because we're dealing with two different components. There's Development Code Section 3.8.1 for accessory structures that will allow someone to be able to build an accessory structure before being able to get their primary structure. And what the language says, property subject to damage from the fires, summarizing a little bit, to build an accessory structure prior to primary structure being built. Because right now, in order to build an accessory structure, you have to have a primary structure. This is to provide storage and accessibility to property during a rebuild. All other development standards apply. A primary structure will need to be built by the completion of the termination of this ordinance. So when this because the ordinance that you have before you has a sunset clause that it will end and it will go away years from now. And so what this is saying is at the end of that, a primary structure will have to be built where there's an accessory structure, or that accessory structure will, have to come into compliance. It will either have to be removed or a primary structure will have to be built. The non-conforming, so if I can go a little bit further, Councilor Page, the non-conforming structure component, that's for a primary residence, that's for an accessory structure, that is for any structure that was potentially permitted, legally permitted at some point to be able to be rebuilt. And that deals with like development standards, like setbacks. So say someone's house was built 3 feet from the property line, whereas a 5-foot setback would be required now. If they wanted to come back, this is someone demonstrates to us that their house was destroyed in the fires, they would be able to rebuild to this development standard up to a point of 2 years from the adoption of this ordinance. Am I clear in the difference between the two?
I had a citizen contact me that is putting in a replacement home on the footprint that they previously were on, and they had an accessory structure on a poured foundation, of which the foundation has been deemed to be reusable, and they're going right back to that those 2 footprints. However, they do not have anything to substantiate what the eave height, where their eave height was, and it appears that they've maybe, according to current code, are off by a foot or something on that eave height. And so the question was posed is, does this ordinance allow for me to move forward, doing my best guess at what the height of the previous structure was?
Well,
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, and I'll try my best. I just try to put on the hat of if that came through as a building permit and I was working with the person that you're talking about. Essentially what staff at Detroit and myself are going to do with permits moving forward, if someone comes in and is going to want to rebuild on the foundation where it was and be able to build just like it was, we're going to need evidence to some extent of what that development standard was. So that's kind of the best answer I can get. Like,
Okay.
if they can demonstrate to us what the height was. I mean, for all purposes, right now, we want people, what this ordinance enables is people who lost their homes. We want you to, if you want to, I mean, first and foremost, we want you to be able to come back to your property if you want to, and be able to be on your property as close to as you were before as it can happen. If you're inclined, if your circumstances allow and you want to come into compliance with what development standards are now too, that's an option. But what this section of the code and what my intent and Kelly and Michelle's intent is just to help, to be as flexible as possible. I mean, we need some kind of starting point of documentation, but Marion County is at the table and trying to help us in finding stuff. So I hope I answered your question.
You did, and I appreciate that. Thank you. I think it lends some clarity.
Okay, thanks. Other counselors?
Okay, at this time,
I did have a question. I'm sorry, Mayor Trett. McCray, so I have a circumstance that has come up and it's going to come up some more.
Yeah.
So we have somebody who is submitting a building permit for an accessory structure along with a deck. They are not even, they are not replacing what they had. They're starting with a whole new concept, a new project.
Okay.
And I said, I need to see the height of the accessory structure because we only allow up to 80%.
Oh, yeah.
Also, depending on your setbacks, a foot per foot height away from with your setback. So my question to them is, I need to know the height of your accessory structure, and it cannot be more than 80% of your permanent structure. And their plan is to put a permanent structure on in a few years. And I said, I cannot approve this till I know how high your permanent structure is and what's the height of your accessory structure. And so the city as a whole, we're on a little bit of a horns of a dilemma. What I really needed at first was just the height. I have to know the height of the accessory structure. But technically, according to our building codes and ordinances, I also need to know the height of the house, the non-existing house.
Yeah, based
to
on
make
that.
sure that it's only that the accessory structure is only 80% of the house.
Of the height. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think for all purposes, I think a statement from the property owner of what and if they, this is a discussion for all the counselors, but that they can build to what their maximum height is for the zone in theory, and then compliance will be this provision that all other development of the structure has to be in place. I mean, that is kind of one of the sticking points of having an ordinance like this, that we're allowing something. Y'all want to allow some flexibility for folks, and in allowing some flexibility, there's a risk that a property owner is taking. Like, they're taking on a risk saying, yes, I will build to meet this development standard. So we're affording flexibility as much as we can, but I think requesting a statement from them of what the building height of the new structure will be is appropriate for compliance. Do other counselors have thoughts? Or Kelly, I noticed you're.
Shelley, I know which one you're talking about. And we found out today, in 2008 is when they actually built onto that restroom, that area. It's on the Marion County. You can get it on the online reports. And I have that for you. The gentleman was in here today, and so he's basically just rebuilding the same thing that was there. And so I'm trying to get that information to you tomorrow morning. Okay?
And we're gonna move back to this. McCray,
Mhm.
can we adopt changes to this report? I'm looking at the $100 application fee, and I'm really wondering, do we need that?
Well, what the planning commission discussed was, where they came up with where we got to for $100 fee was type 1 land use actions. The deposit fee that Kelly takes in for those is $100. And we discussed being able to cover, what planning commission discussed was being able to cover Kelly's costs for processing those applications. So that's where the fee came from. I mean, you could determine that you want to remove that fee, either the initial fee or the $50 fee. But City Council directed Planning Commission to look at this and discuss, and how they got to $100 was this. And they did talk a lot and grappled with it and felt like, well, we still have to do business. And so the potential of this is high, of people getting this and Kelly processing this application. So you can keep the fee as is, you can eliminate the fee in total, you can revise it.
So what that $100 is going to be, it's not just us trying to gain money for our treasury. It's cover costs of actually processing
the application.
Doing, okay, that's
Counselor
Tisdale. I saw your hand first.
Yeah. I was wondering, and I think I know the answer, but I just want to put this out there for all listeners. Was there a fee before the fire for an RV on private property? Kelly, I think probably this.
Yes, well, there was no fee. You could have 2 RVs on your property if the setbacks allowed. If you wanted, you could have up to 4, but at 3, you would have a permit, a $50 permit for each. Yeah.
Okay, so
well, Kelly, point of order.
Hold on, Shelley.
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
That was from.
I'm sorry.
That was from. That is for April 1st to October 31st, and November 1st to March 31st, with 1 month. That's the development code, the current development code for that.
So you wouldn't be able to keep your, excuse me for interrupting, you wouldn't be able to keep a RV year round. I think I understand that's how it's been implemented. But I am new to this part of the story, so please ask questions and let's think through it.
Councilor Engel, did you? Councilor Engel? Councilor Page.
Thank you. Just keeping in mind here, and I've read through this and I've spent some time on planning, and we certainly were, this has been an ongoing issue with the city. We're one of the only cities in the state of Oregon that allows what they do with RVs. And from everything I've seen with what we're doing here, we're actually expanding the code, not pulling back on it. And we have to have some level of regulation on RVs. The city of Salem, you don't see people, parking the RVs in a residential lot next to a house and living in them. This is an expansion of the ability to let people come in and use their property. And so from my perspective, what we're trying to do, just like the city of Mill City did, which had no regulations that allowed this prior to the wildfire, we're trying to expand this and make it a benefit for those who've lost, their living residences on a piece of property in Detroit.
Councilor Tisdale.
Yeah, I don't believe that the fee should be on the backs of the people that had their homes burned down. There was no fee before. I don't think there should be a fee again. And regulation, if it's a piece of paper before the fire that was filled out by Kelly, then it can be that again, and maybe modified. The form can be modified to go year round if that's the hang up. I don't know why we are on the RV code, sticking it so hard to the RV code when we have more important things to talk about. Just like Eric, you said earlier when we were having issues with deciding on who to be counselor. I feel that the people that had their homes burned down have had enough fees and paid enough to clean up, and I'm against a fee. In addition, I want to add that extra 12 months because we don't have water yet, and to confine us to 2 years plus 12 months is too limiting. I don't think there's any feeling towards the people that have had their homes burned down.
Okay, further discussion? Counselor Page.
I'll just bring some rebuttal, you know, nonetheless. And I appreciate that. And I don't want to put this on the back of anybody else, nor do I want to put any fees on the back of anybody else trying to rebuild up there. But let me tell you something. We do not want to find ourselves in a broke situation, not being able to fund anything in the city. And those lots that are looking to put RVs on are extending out the period of time that they're going to have reduced property taxes, which means they're already getting it discounted down, which they should. But nonetheless, if you want a city to exist, the way this country works is we all have to pay a certain amount to keep that city going and keep those city services going. This is a one-time fee. It's also a fee that is based, from my understanding, on setting a precedent of if with a permit and a fee, if you do not follow the guidelines, you know, the city ordinances, if you become a nuisance, you can lose your permit. And I mean, just like me as a homeowner, I did not lose my home. I'm very thankful for that. I don't know how it happened. But if I do not follow noise ordinance, et cetera, in the city, I can get fined and, you know, things happen. So I think some of this was to put some teeth in it. And also, I mean, we do have to pay our city employees. There's going to be a mountain of these type of applications compared to what we've managed before, when people were coming in, when we had a town with a mixture of homes, RVs, et cetera. And this is going to take a lot of staff time. So there's my input for that.
Councilor Engel.
Just a point of clarification, when Councilor Tesdale said that people aren't thinking of those who lost their homes, I can't do a tally in my head, but I'm trying to think of all of the people on the Planning Commission who worked hard on this, who did lose their homes. And I'm sorry, I don't have a tally in front of me, but I believe at least 2, 3, 4, I can think of 4 off the top of my head who did lose their homes there. And so I think that was probably not, let me say it again. They definitely suffered, and they definitely know the pain of losing their homes.
I didn't say that. You put words in my mouth. What I'm saying is when you put fees on top of people who had their homes burned down that cannot afford the fees, not the people that can and can give the $100, the $150, the $200. I think it's a burden that is not shared throughout the town.
I see.
Further discussion? So do I have a motion of some kind?
Mayor Trett, do you want to?
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting a step, aren't I? Thank you for that.
Yeah.
At this time, I'm going to. We have the opportunity for the public to testify or give testimony. So if anybody wants to speak, unfortunately, we don't have a sign-up sheet. So if you could unmute and give me your name, I'll call on you. McCray?
I was just gonna say they could raise their hand.
Yeah, raise your, I don't have that little hand raising thing
Yeah.
on this one. So does anybody from the public wish to testify? Unmute and say your name. Does anybody wish to testify? One more time.
Keith Munn.
Okay. Mr. Mon, go ahead.
Well, I don't necessarily am against the fee, but then I'm also thinking now I have to pay another $100 to park my trailer while we're building. It seems to me we would come up with something different where people could park their trailer or RV, whatever, on their property. But if there wasn't being anything done on that property, then for a period of 45 days, 60 days, then it would have to be removed unless it was under a cover.
Okay. Thank you. McCray, this $100 fee, is that? Remind me, okay, that would be for processing.
Mm-hmm.
The permit would pay for processing, but also covers some of the cost of plans or something like that. Remind me.
Not plans necessarily. I mean, if someone comes in and needed support filling out the application, staff would help them by all means. You know, sometimes people are coming into contact with this stuff and don't do this regularly. So the interest is to make sure that like setbacks are met and that you're hooked up to water, you're hooked up to electricity, how you're going to be dealing with the septic component. And so it's really just a overall public health permit that we want to know where people are. We want to be able to track it. The fee just covers time, but again, you all are, there are funding sources that you're looking at in different ways to help support the community through things. But the Planning Commission did feel you know, I wouldn't say unanimously, but the majority felt a fee was appropriate to cover costs. You could align with what the fee was for the RV, that even though it's a shorter term permit, the RV permit that's in the code right now that Kelly referenced to $50. But again, I want to share with you counselors, like you all can determine whatever you want with this fee right now. You're not beholden to what you see.
Discussion on that. Do I have a motion of any kind to modify, accept, reject? Councilor Page.
I was going to offer a little more discussion. I mean,
Okay.
From my perspective, it would seem that if the $100 seems to be seems to be a big fee, a one-time big fee. I mean, maybe we cut that in half if the objection is that the fee is too high. I don't think that there's any way a city operates with some level of oversight on anything without some fee-based. I mean, you have to have some fee. You got to pay to park for criminy sakes in Salem. I mean, it's just the way a city works. So if a $100 fee is too much, I'm willing to listen to that. It didn't seem like it was out of line for a one-time fee, but that's it.
Councilor Smith.
Yes, Mayor. I do know that the $100 fee is kind of a sticky point for a lot of the citizens. And what if we modified it to have a waiver of some sort for various reasons, so If somebody can't afford the $100 and we know they were a full-time resident prior to, we give them the waiver. I know a lot of the second homeowners up there have mentioned that the $100 to help the city. They personally don't have a problem with that, but there are going to be some residents that are going to have it stuck in their crawl and not like that. The other thing I would like to also modify it for that 4th year as well. And a lot of that is not only for the water, but we have a lot of residents that are fighting insurance companies, getting builders and product up there and everything else. I think that 4th year would be beneficial.
So could we, I'm going to throw this out, do what the county did. We'll waive that $100 fee for primary residents because they do need a place to come back to. Second homeowners, supposedly, if they have a second home, are a little better off financially. And I've heard from a lot of second homeowners, why are you not billing us for water? We're not getting it, but we should be paying it anyway. Is there, what's the feeling from council for that, doing that, waiving the fee for primaries and keeping that $100 fee for second homeowners? Councilor Luke, thank you.
I would definitely support that.
Thank you. So, Councilor Engel.
I would support that as well. But I am a firm believer in moving forward with the process as a whole, with the requirements and all that the Planning Commission has put hours and hours into. I'm good with, I think that's a brilliant idea, Mayor Trett, of not having a permit for the permanent resident permit fee. A permit, absolutely. A permit fee for primary residents to waive it. I think that is a great solution. But I would also like to hear from Mr. Monahan if he has any input or opinion about any of this. The Planning Commission has worked really, really hard on this, and I would just like to hear his thoughts as well before we move forward. Thank you.
You're still muted, Bill.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Sorry. So you had the ability to, of course, this is a legislative hearing to create an ordinance that's going to be beneficial to the community. You can create 2 different classes of permits. It would be helpful for you to be as clear as you possibly can for the staff to hear what the waiver criteria are. I don't think that you're going to run into difficulty if you create 2 classes, 1 primary, 1 non-primary residence, because you already have those categories defined within your code, so people understand what that means.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, in your charter, not your code.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we can't do that now. I think if I'm remembering my procedures right, we have to close the meeting and come out and go back into regular session, and then we can address these motions. I kind of agree with Councilor more than kind of agree with Councilor Tesdale. I would like to add that second 1-year extension in because of the water situation. I was asked today by a reporter how far we are with water, and I said to him, I'm through trying to figure it out because we just keep running into walls and roadblocks. And I think once again, for primary residences, I think we do need to be as generous as we can with them. I do would not support probably an extension beyond the 2 years, simply because we also have to think of all the residents who are rebuilding and how that could impact them. So that would be another amendment that I would probably put forward once we get back in, is to add that second 1-year extension. Is there discussion on that? Any further testimony from the public? Thank you, Mr. Munn. Okay, I will close the public hearing, and now we can discuss recommendations or motions? So do we have a motion?
I motion to modify that to to waive the fee for the primary residence.
And continue the $100 fee for secondary. I'm just trying to get that in the motion, Tim. Thank you. Do I hear a second? A motion, Counselor Luke.
Second that.
A second, Counselor Shepard, to waive the fee for primary residents, continue the $100 fee for secondary residents. Discussion.
Are we going to add that last year in there that we were talking?
That'll be the second motion, I think.
Okay.
I think it's best to have two motions.
Yep.
No further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. And then I'll step out of my role here. I will move that we add a second one-year extension to the ordinance to allow for a 2-year first period followed by 2 one-year extensions.
I second that.
Second, Counselor Luke. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes, and we go from there. Thank you. Now comes the appointment of council commissions by the mayor with consent of council. I've struggled with this, and I've been talking to some of my peers who've been at this a lot longer. I'm going to make these appointments with your consent, and then if people want to talk to each other and talk about swapping, you could come back to me and do that. Street Commissioner Greg Shepard has said he would like to maintain that. I would like to maintain Shelley Engel as Building Commissioner. I'll stay as Emergency Preparedness. Water Commissioner, I would like to appoint Tim Luke. Police and Safety Commissioner Todd Smith. And as Tourism Commissioner, Michelle Tesdale. And I really hope, Michelle, the reason I'd like you there is because you do such a great job with grants. And I really feel that we have to do some promoting of this community this year. And I'm hoping maybe we can find some grants to come up with some good ad material, maybe even some television time for Portland and Eugene, primarily maybe Bend, to promote that we are still here and still alive. So those are my appointments with council approval. Councilor Engel.
I didn't catch water.
Tim Luke, Councilor Luke.
Parks and Rec.
Oh, Parks and Rec Commission, Councilor Page.
Okay, I'm gonna start over. So Parks and Rec is whom?
Eric Page.
Okay, and water is Councilor Luke. 1, 2, 3. So I'm trying to get the other two then written down. Street, building,
Shepard.
water, police, parks. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I suppose I need a motion there.
Okay. Can I say something, or am I out of order just to say something? Can I say something?
No, I don't know. I'm going to look to Bill as a parliamentarian here.
Sorry, I'm working with a really small button to push here. So I think it's within your discretion to take comments from the members of council. You're asking for council's consideration and approval of your appointments, so this would be appropriate to accept comments.
Great, thank you. Councilor Tesdale.
My skills is more in the line of natural resources and water. I've been working 20 years with farmers and ranchers in Marion County. And so the tourism would be fun, but I excel at the natural resources and the water systems. So that's what I want to say. And then also with someone, you know, with Tim coming in and being in construction, I'm wondering if we could match the skills and abilities of that with building commissioner, because I know Shelley's been doing it and I've never needed to have a permit, but now that our town is burned down, I think we need to have some really, some skills that someone has used as a profession.
Okay. Further comments? Okay. Councilor Smith, do you have something, or you're unmuted? I don't care.
I have nothing besides I'm looking for work with the Garrett who's on this call, so.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion? Councilor Engel.
I make a motion that we accept the appointees as presented by Mayor Trett.
Second. Second, Councilor Smith. Discussion. And I take all these comments very seriously, and I'm, like I said, this has been a long process for me to come up with what I've come up with. Okay, further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes.
Excuse me, that was Michelle.
Yes.
That yeah, we have to say the name because
Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah, we have to say names because they don't know who's saying aye or not
Okay.
on the recording.
I only heard Councilor Tesdale say nay. So motion passes 6-1. Thank you. Personnel Review Board. Tim Luke is volunteered to be on that committee or on that board. Again, the Personnel Review Board is primarily there to update and keep current the policy and procedural manual for the city. And in case of a disciplinary action by the city against an employee, if the employee feels that they were not treated fairly, they could appeal to the Personnel Review Board for consideration. If they don't like the decision of the Personnel Review Board, it comes to the mayor. And if they don't like the decision of the mayor, then it goes to court. So we still, Councilor Tesdale has agreed to be the alternate, but we still need one full-time person. Take that, Councilor Luke.
When we talked about it before, and when Councilor Tesdale said that she'd be willing to be an alternate, I think in that meeting also she said that she would be willing to if there wasn't an alternate, but that I think she was wanting to actually be on the committee full.
Is that, did I miss that, Councilor Tesdale?
If no one steps in, I'll do it. I was trying to give room for someone to step in.
Great, thank you. I thought that's what we had. Councilor Engel.
I'll do it. I was the alternate for the last 2.5 years. I can do it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you three very much. Unfinished business, water plant, Rob Henry, please give us good news.
Okay, so since we had our special council meeting last Monday, we've actually made decent progress. So the water treatment plant, we're working forward with getting contract stuff out, getting procurement out. We did get I saw an email, actually, they just came into my general email today with the announcement from USDA about the EQUAG grant. Some of that might be in relation to maybe them wanting to show that they're helping move things forward. It doesn't say that the EQUAG grant, which is the $1 million grant for temporary treatment, if that is officially funded or not. But they did put out a press release, so I would assume that that's coming imminently. Matt and I had a meeting this morning with the insurance companies, with their estimator and a couple of people from the insurance company. And we're working through the estimates that they've given on the control building so that we can determine exactly how much money the city is going to get through that. And this is something that's, I mean, there's no resolution as to that. This morning, we do have a little bit of a disagreement on their initial valuation. And that's something that we'll need to work with the city on, whether or not we get city attorney involved with that. We want to make sure that the city is getting all the coverage that they have been paying for. On Friday, there was a material testing company was up at the treatment plant site, testing for hazardous debris. And then Olson LLC will be removed, is starting to remove the debris from the treatment plant building and reservoir A, so we can get that started. That's being funded out of insurance money, so we don't have to have the EQUAG grant funded. So right now the city's not taking a huge risk with that. But before we get the treatment plant equipment shipped and have them start on construction of the treatment facility themselves, we'll need to make sure that we have that funded, or else the city is taking. We've been reminded by USDA that city is taking a risk. Moving on to flushing, we finally got the mainline flushing complete last week. Last Thursday was the last of that. We found a big leak at the city park. So leaks have been isolated, and we've gotten the leakage rate down from as high as 250 gallons a minute down to about 35 gallons a minute. That still needs to come down some, but that 35 gallons a minute is more reasonable, and that when we put the temporary treatment plant, the 70 gallon a minute temporary treatment plant in, we have determined that we can supply water to about 350 people, not 350 homes, but 350 people, plus canes and watering the park. Now, when we talk about, watering, irrigation and all that is really going to be dependent on the amount of water that's available that's been made. But I feel pretty good about the way things have progressed over this last week. And I don't really have much more to report that way. Oh, the VOC testing, we've got a corrective action plan that has been submitted to, or at least the draft of it has been submitted to Oregon health authorities to get their concurrence on that, to make sure that they agree with how we're moving forward with the VOC testing. But how we're moving forward with VOC testing is based on what their requirements are. So I don't see any problem with that. And I think that's what I have to report at this point. So I think I'll take whatever questions the council has.
Councilor Page.
Rob and or Matt, the USDA has been dragging their feet on this grant for long enough. Who do we need to build a fire under up the political chain and explain to them that it is high time for water to be flowing in Detroit, and we need this grant to get signed off so that treatment plant can be on the road. Obviously, we are not ringing the right bell somewhere.
I guess I can address that a little bit. After our meeting with FEMA last week, or was it Wednesday last week? We got quite a few. I think Matt took a bunch of calls from, was it USDA, and had a phone conversation with USDA, and they, how do I want to say this correctly? They appear to have a fire lit under them at the moment. I think moving forward, any conversations that could be held with the legislators in Congress, whether that's Congressman Schrader or our senators, that always seems to be what produces the quickest action for these federal agencies.
And I could add to that, at last Wednesday's FEMA meeting, I kind of vented a little bit about it, about USDA and the process, being told we would have it in 30 days after a simple application. The next morning, Greg Riley, our FEMA representative to the city, called me and said, I've got a call from my boss's boss. What do we need to be doing? And so that started that up the ladder. A few minutes later, I got a personal call from Representative Schrader saying, what's going on? I explained the frustration again to him, and my understanding is he personally made the call to USDA later that day. So I think that's where part of the fire is coming from. Representative Schrader and Councilor Merkley's office has also made another call after that. So those are things that have happened since last Wednesday. And then something happened yesterday, and a USDA person said, boy, why have I gotten 4 calls today to get this thing moving? And so I think last Wednesday, Rob is right. We brought it up to the FEMA thing, and it seemed to have blown up the chain. So go from there, just for that information. Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Greg Shepard. I'm looking at this report, and there's a lot of concerns about the Breitenbush intake, and I was wondering, are we going to entertain the idea of maybe look for a second source for an alternate, just in case? Because I believe we're looking at a loaded gun here with the Breitenbush watershed, 160 square miles, and a lot of it was burned. And this is the 25th anniversary of the 1996 flood, in which we had 10 to 23 inches of rain on a heavy snowpack. We don't have that now, but we didn't have burned acres then 25 years ago. And I'm worried about putting all of our eggs in one basket. And if the river should rise, 20 to 30 feet, we might be in a pickle. And it just seems to me that we should explore a second source.
So we have been talking with Olson LLC about Mackey Creek. We just made just had a conversation about what kind of getting some basic cost estimates to restore flow from them. So we would have that. I guess my concern is that Mackey Creek is burned much worse than basically the Breitenbush watershed, and I'm more concerned about Mackey Creek, but I agree that having an additional source there, having Mackey Creek, especially if it's money that will come out of, if we have a way to pay for it, will come out of FEMA funds, and making that happen. I think that Mackey Creek does need to get put back online. what we'll do is, if we move that direction, would be to connect the upper part that's completely melted. And then of course we'd have to do VOC testing because a lot of that pipeline did melt, but the water has run through there basically from the intake down to the, the burn parts down lower. So there's been water flushing through there since September. So we're hopeful that VOCs won't be a problem for that. If they are, then we'll obviously have to replace the entire thing. And that is one of the things that we've spoken with FEMA about there. And I think the connection, having an emergency intertie with IDANA is something that needs to be pursued. We haven't talked too much to FEMA about mitigation funding, but we believe that that's one of the things that we could look for from FEMA is to look for mitigation money through that. And there might be other sources for that emergency, for an emergency intertie there, as long as nobody thinks that would be a permanent water source. And frankly, IDANA doesn't have enough water to supply Detroit for longer than, short periods of time. Matt, did I address that well?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that emergency intertie is a great idea in general. I mean, regardless of really anything we're looking at. So I think there's a number of avenues for funding that we can explore to try and get that. None of that is going to be emergency funding, so it's not going to be really quick, but I think that is a good idea for resiliency for both Detroit and IDANA, really, for that matter. I think it's going to be a direction that a lot of cities are going to go when they have nearby cities. It just makes a lot of sense to do.
Yeah, I'm glad you're talking about it because, yeah, I think we ought to explore that a little more. It'd be good to have an alternate source.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Page.
Mayor Trent?
Councilor Tesdale?
Yeah. Hey, regarding IDANA, I'll just slip this in. It won't take long. I know we got a lot of stuff to cover, but because of who I work with, I am able to make connections with a couple people with OHA, Oregon Health Authority. One was Jay McPherson. He's the engineer with IDANA on the water system, and it's promising. And I was moving towards that, thinking I'd get water commissioner, but that's okay. But they are hopeful, and they were happy to hear from us, and really want to start working with us. So there's a few people that I'm going to be, need to be called back regarding IDANA.
Yeah, we work with Jay all the time for things, and of course we're the city engineer for IDANA as well. And currently, the funding sources that are available for that sort of thing through them, it's a state revolving loan fund, which is what we got the water project loan out of, and that would be loan fund. I think what we'd be looking for would be, that's definitely worth looking for loan fund, but I think we're also dealing with Oregon Health Authority on potential legislation through the state legislature that would be expanding not only that, but also some watershed protection grants. So we're hopeful for grant money for that rather than having to take out loans.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else for Rob? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay. Coronavirus relief fund. As Congress came up with a $25,000 availability to communities to help with coronavirus things. It has to be related to coronavirus. Once the coronavirus pandemic is over, we can still use it, but it has to originally be used for COVID activities or lack of activity. So we have identified that we would like to use a lot of that money to provide excuse me, sound and video for council meetings because of the Zoom thing now. But afterwards, we could continue to use it to put these meetings online so second homeowners would have easier access to more than just the once a year Saturday event. That was to expire on December 30th. They have extended it to June 30th of this year. So we would like to, without objection, we're going to keep those funds available for that until we see what we need in the new community center where we'll probably be holding our city council meetings. So that's just an update on that. City trees, IGA wildfire recovery operations step 2 cleanup. Kelly. Can you give us an update?
So we received the intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon for our, let me get that, sorry, for our debris removal for the city hall and for the arborist coming out, the state arborist, and have ODOT cut our hazard trees on city right away. Talked to Cameron from AC Disaster Consultants and asked him, when are they going to be here? And the answer was, I don't know. So, you know, I've been trying to get this coordinated for months, and it just, like everything else, doesn't move along too quickly. So I don't know, Jim, did you talk to anybody today in regards to that?
Actually, yes, excuse me. Stan Thomas, who's the lead at the Oregon Office of Emergency Management, when I heard that, I made another phone call yesterday to him expressing frustration, and he was making phone calls today. I got an email from him just before I got here tonight, so I haven't had a chance to get back to him, but he was going to call me back with the results of those conversations he was having today and understood what our concerns were in terms of getting stuff done in Detroit, and go from there. They are marking trees on the highway, and I told him that's not what they said they were going to do. They were going to do Detroit first. And he said, yes, I remember that. So we are, he made some phone calls today. And like I say, just as I got here tonight, he emailed me that he had some answers for me, but I just didn't have time to get back to him because of the problems we were having here. So I will have more tomorrow. I'd be happy to I'll put that out to council, what his comments were and where we are. Anything else on that? 8.3, remembrance plaque for Harold Hills. We've been talking about, and I think it's a great idea, putting a plaque honoring Harold for his years of service to Detroit at the corner of Forest and Detroit Avenue. Just because we have so much to get through tonight, and I don't want to short this, and I definitely think we need to do it, but do we need, could we get some reports from staff or maybe the Hills family on what their vision is for size and verbiage and that kind of stuff, and put this on the agenda, keep this on the agenda until we have time to adequately address it and do it the service it deserves. Without objection, we'll pass it on. A drinking water resource protection grant. Michelle, Councilor Tesdale, could you, I guess you're working on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I was working on this and it kind of took a turn because at Mackey Creek, we were trying to restore the watershed so it would stop eroding to help you guys put back the water system there. It's so steep and so burnt that the trees can't be cut, and we were going to plan on cutting them, laying them horizontally, staking them in to stop that soil from sloughing off so we could keep that area clean where the intake is for the water. But the engineer said that talked to a couple engineers, and they said that it's too steep, that up to 3 years, you were going to see trees falling, soil sloughing off, plugging that intake area. So that grant has to, I have to try and find a way to use that money, but I don't think I can use it in that area, unfortunately. So the Mackey Creek isn't looking promising until it naturally settles, because we can't do any engineering to stop the trees from falling in and the soil from sloughing. So that's all I got.
Thank you. Questions for Councilor Tisdale? Okay, website bid. Back to this. Okay. We have notified the 5 applicants that they could have up to a 3-minute period to talk about their proposal, and then we can make a decision. So go from there. So I'm just going here. Marissa, I'm going to say your last name right. Marketing by Marissa. Marissa Maciera. Is she here?
Yes, it's Miss Sarah.
Miss Sarah? Okay, I knew I'd butcher them both.
That's all right.
So tell us about your plan.
So currently I do a few websites, and one of them is the Detroit Lake Neighborhood Association. And so my plan for the city website is to just bring, honestly, some liveliness to it and definitely keep it up to date. Some feedback I've heard is that things are hard to find on the website. There's a lot of clutter on there. So I want to get that more organized and put the most important information in the front. Right now, I do the Instagram and Facebook for the neighborhood association, and that is going very well. And I'm able to stay up to date with all of your updates, Mayor Trett, and it's been really great keeping tabs on all of that and being very relatable to all the Detroit's residents. So that's my plan for the website. I will be using GoDaddy as my platform because it is very easy and it gives access to the right people. I can share the credentials with whomever has access to it. Therefore, there's not just one person that has access to all of the information. That makes it a lot easier and universal, especially for the council. So that is my plan. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions for, how do you say it, Marissa?
Yes, it's Marissa Maciera.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah.
Questions? Councilor Engel.
Marissa, can you tell us your fees and things like that, the cost to the city of Detroit?
Yes, so I am going to charge just basically what I do for all of my clients. And for the initial, just setting up the website and transferring all the information, I will be charging $600 for the initial. And then I have also offered to do a monthly contract of just keeping things updated, coming up with content, and just keeping a general newsletter out for everybody. And I believe I put that at $150 per month.
150 per month, or I see here 50.
So that's a breakdown between two different.
Oh, okay.
100 for the website and then 50 for social media as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Councilor Smith.
Hey, Marissa, I just wanted to see, I know, going forward, we've talked about tourism and it's going to become a big push for us to try to get people back to Detroit. Have you thought about what kind of things you could put on the Facebook pages that you could be creating to help us with that?
Yes, definitely. So I would love to be in contact with some sort of event committee and definitely be involved with I know there's like a little league that goes on there. I know that we have obviously the fireworks each year, things like that. We know it exists, but there is a lot of people who don't. And I think that Oregon has such an amazing draw. And when people think Oregon, they probably imagine Detroit Lake. They just don't know where to find it. So I would love to be a part of that, of just saying, hey, this is Detroit Lake. It's a great location. Here we are. This is what we have to offer. I know that we have definitely looked into Paradise, the town of Paradise, that had also gone through something very tragic, and they have recovered very well. They're now very related to the public, and they are an awesome vacation spot and a very big tourist attraction. So I'd love to bring that to Detroit and no longer just talk within the community, but also bring people from outside and really build it up again.
Okay.
Great. Thank you, Marissa.
Other questions? If not, that's okay. Next, Lindley Creative Studios. You here? Anybody from Lindley Creative Studios? Okay, hearing none. Project Limited, or anybody here from there? Project Limited.
They're there. There you go.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go
That
ahead.
is a small button, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for giving us a moment to introduce ourselves. My name is Stacia and this is Jamie. And we are the owners of Project Graphic Design and Marketing. We are a full service marketing agency out of Salem, Oregon. We've been in business for over 6 years now. We've had an array of clients. And we offer all sorts of services like anything marketing related. So from postcard mailings to social media management to website design. Specific to this conversation, we're talking about what we've done for Detroit and then what we can do in terms of building that website for you.
So as for what we have done for Detroit, we've been very involved in a lot of the events that have happened in the past for more than 10 years. All of the promotion for the fishing derby and the fireworks, that has been mainly by our company through Del Raba. And we also developed the Detroit Rocks program. Working with Travel Salem, we were able to come up with some funding for that. And we feel like that has brought a lot of tourism to town. A bit about our relationships with the tourist agencies. We do have really strong connections with Travel Salem and Travel Oregon and all of those different organizations through other projects that we've done. So we're well versed in travel tourism marketing.
With that said, does anyone have any questions about our proposal?
Councilor Engel.
Jamie and Stacia, can you remind me, did you also do all the publicity for the eclipse?
Yes.
Yes. Of course, the attendance issue was not yours doing, but I just thought that I remembered that you did a lot of that as well. Yeah.
We also did a Detroit Strong t-shirt campaign, and we were able to raise, we just checked the numbers this morning, and it's just reached $115,000 to go back to the Detroit Lake Foundation. So we're really proud of that too. Our hearts are with Detroit, and we just want to help however we can.
I have one more question. We are in need of a website. How long would it take you to get one up?
So if we are working with the current content that you have on your site and have access to a very well organized outline of what you're trying to accomplish, we can get it done as soon as 2 weeks to 30 days.
Great.
So the difficult part is just having that information.
Yeah. Yeah, truly.
Content.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have one other thing that I could add to this. So
okay,
sorry guys. The application that we use is very user friendly as well. So once it's in place, it's a little cumbersome to build, but once it's done, the back end of it is so easy. We could train someone if they wanted to make updates real time.
to do that themselves, or you can just call us anytime and we'd be happy to help update information for you.
Do you use Wix or GoDaddy or WordPress?
We're suggesting for this one a Squarespace site.
Okay,
Thank
thank you. Moving along. I can't read. My copy is very, very light. Decision point, is that, or design point? There's somebody here from there? Okay, somebody from Design Point, I think it is, 888 Madison Street. Like I say, that's all I can make out. Okay, and then we have Lori, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Would you like to make a proposal?
Yes, I'd just like to say I'm Lori Gatley with LSK Graphics. I've been in the design advertising business for 30 years. I started my business in '91, worked with many municipalities over the years, and have been creating websites for over 12 years, working with a programmer and digital media specialist to help in the back end with programming. I use WordPress, and that's what I'm recommending for this site. I know the city very well, and I purchased my home in Detroit in 1998 and have been a year-round part-time resident for 22 years. And I did lose my home in the fire. I've been working with Christine and Kelly on the website for 8 years now and have a contract with the city that expires in October. And I've asked for upgrades and security for the site, but was told it was not in the budget. So after the fire was determined the site was not working adequately on mobile devices and asked again for the upgrade. This time I found that the WordPress theme was no longer being supported and the upgrade's not available. So I sent an estimate and proposal to the city end of October. And I went before City Council to let them know and have been upgrading the current site daily, mostly daily, with links and information regarding fire and other things. And on January 22nd, City Council did award me the continuation of my contract, and I moved full steam ahead with a new theme, a Genesis theme. And I sent a first draft to the city on January 29th. And received back some real positive feedback, some new ideas. And since then, I have been on hold. And I do have some balance due for the work. I'm about 3/4 of the way completed with the programming and design, and I'm still waiting for some content. But I wish to complete the upgrade of the website and get it into full working order for the city, and loading it live immediately upon completion, which will be this month, within a week or two. And I will include features that are needed today, for residents. And I also need to propose a creation of a communication team to make this possible. This means receiving clear and concise communication from the designated sources and getting that information posted right away onto the website. In time, I will be happy to hand a clean, functioning, well-implemented and improved site over to another host and help them with an easy flow of transition. I want to move forward to complete what I've started. And with this upgrade that I've been working on for several months now, and I'm ready to move forward as soon as possible. Thank you.
Jim can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Questions for Lori?
Lori, Greg Shepherd, what is your monthly fee?
Well, I have been charging like $20 a month in the past, and I said I would stick with that.
I have a question.
Counselor
Councilor
Tesdale.
Tesdale. Have you been notified when you can get paid?
It's usually quite, fast. I haven't sent an invoice into Christine yet. I did speak with her and she said, just let her know. So.
Other questions? Hearing none. Discussion, council. Councilor Engel.
Can you tell us, Mayor Tread, about the different funding sources that we've been receiving to help pay for a new website? I believe there's about 2 or 3. Can you reiterate those for us?
I know there are at least 2, and I can't remember who they are. I'm sorry about that. Kelly, do you know? Okay.
No, I don't know.
So one is the CARES Act.
Yep.
I know that for a fact. Another one is through FEMA, a economic development source, and each of them will give us something like $3,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 to help pay for a new website.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I remembered the FEMA one for sure. Okay. Other discussion. Councilor Tesdale.
Yeah. Her contract goes to October, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm wondering why bids were sent out when the contract wasn't expired.
That was brought up by council.
Nobody answered. It just was, but would the city be liable for anything? Could they get in trouble for breach of contract if it ends before the contract is over?
Bill? I'm glad you're still here.
Yeah, I am too. So the question that's asked about the October date, was it that the contract is through October 2021, or did it expire October 2020?
We were told October 2021 that it expires.
So if it goes through October 2021 and it's a valid contract, that yes, we have some exposure to live up to the terms of that agreement. So then I have not seen the request for proposals. Is the request for proposals to take place, or rather take the place of that work, or is it to take up the project? As I heard the last speaker who's been working on the website say that she plans to finalize the website to get it up to a condition so that she can hand it over. Is that what the intent is to get it to a final position and then hand it over in November of 2021?
Is that for Lori? Is that for what?
I think that's really for Kelly or whoever has prepared the request for proposals.
Shelley, were you the one to ask for those bids?
No, that comes straight from the city. I didn't touch it. However, I will answer. I have
asked for it.
We asked for bids last October. So at the beginning of a new contract year is when we decided that we would put this out to bid.
So it sounds like you put the bid out with an anticipation that the existing contract would go through October 2021, and this would piggyback on top of that work. Is that correct?
I have never seen a contract and I have never seen an RFP. We had a discussion with Ms. Gatley at a meeting, and when she said it was going to cost $1,000 to upgrade the website, I said perhaps it's time to go out to bid because it was at the end of a contract year getting ready to go into a new contract year. And it was agreed that we would put it put the RFP out there so that we could accept proposals.
Councilor Luke.
So why is it taking 5 months to get proposals and so forth? We just saw these a couple weeks ago. And why did it go out to bid at $1,000 just to upgrade, websites become obsolete and programming and so forth? And I'm just wondering why on $1,000, why it went to bid on that. I had asked that question to Kelly via an email, and she replied she thought it was because of the monthly charges, but I just don't understand. It's under $10,000, and it just doesn't seem to be any congruity and any answers from why this, if it's in contract till the 2021, if it's been renewed already, if she was given the contract already. We're having this meeting because, as I understand, last meeting, Mayor Trett said that we had allowed Lori Gatley to speak on the behalf of that. And literally, I only asked her a question to chime in as what she was charging. And she was currently, under my understanding, under contract. So that did not allow somebody to speak on the behalf of their bid proposals. It was only asking a question of, because I asked Kelly if she was charging or what she was charging. And so I brought her in. So all these things are confusing to me as why we're revisiting this at all, or why it ever happened in the first place, instead of just sitting down with our web designer and telling her it needed to be upgraded. She said $1,000. We should have put it to bid, I thought, and so forth, but I wasn't in on that. So I've looked through the minutes as much as I could, and I've just never found where we asked, where before I was on council, where they asked to put it out to bid or otherwise. And so I'm just having a hard time figuring out why this is all going on, and especially why we're coming back to it, because she didn't speak on her behalf of a bid proposal a couple weeks ago. She only answered a question that I asked her of what she was currently charging. And my understanding was she's currently under contract, and that's okay to do that. And so it seems like we've got a big muddled water now where she's supposed to be under contract, unless I'm wrong or she's wrong, until October of 2021. Could you weigh in on that, Mr. Monahan?
Well, again, I've not seen the RFP, nor have I seen the contract. So I'm learning for the first time in this conversation about the timelines. But if there is an existing contract that goes through October 2021, then the city either should honor that contract or decide to work with the person who has the contract to end that arrangement and then enter into another contract. But it's entirely possible that you have a contract that's valid, and there are expectations that should be clarified and move forward.
Thank you. Also, it's just, I'm new to this too, but nowhere can I find who's, it seems like Shelley, you've taken the position, which I don't know one or the other, of being kind of in charge of it and so forth. And I wonder how that all plays in with council and city staff. And, these are hard things, because we don't have a clear understanding of all these things, and who makes these choices or are asked to make these choices, and if they're done properly and so forth. So I just want us all to, do it according to protocol.
Kelly and Christine have been in a conversation over here. Evidently, the domain name is under contract. That was renewed in October, but according to Kelly and Christine, we don't have a contract per se with Lori.
Not a written contract.
Not a written contract anyway. So whatever that, and that's something we need to correct. Discussion. Do I have a vote? Councilor Page.
Well, I'm going to go back to the same discussion. that we had when we first worked the reason that this came up to where we are today is because there were multiple holes in this website. There was a 30-day window that there had been no updates during the summer months whatsoever to the website. And various questions were asked of how the management of the website had gone. And the feedback was that it was not what we were looking for with moving the city forward. And based on that, that is how we got to asking for looking into bids, which was, since that was decided at council, that was the reason it went out to a bid style to do it right. But we got to that because of the website that was operating was not being managed up to the expectations that we had. And there were multiple holes in it. And again, as I said the last time when we were talking about this, we are entering a new era with the city of Detroit where we are looking at extreme management of website and information pathway. And based on the previous production, I have concern with moving forward with what we've been doing.
This is Councilor Tesdale. I was wondering if Lori could weigh in on the communication between the city and herself on the past.
I will start.
Okay, yeah, might as well.
Okay. Well, I haven't received a lot of information. It's been very slow to get back answers that I propose, and sometimes I send emails and I don't get a return for the answers. And a lot of times it's months before I get the minutes to put in. It's within a month. But it's been very slow, and that's why I proposed to have a communication team to provide information to the web host.
Jim, you're muted.
That's why I don't mute. So the slowness was from not getting minutes from staff?
Yes, I can only work with Kelly, and so she is very, very busy. And so a lot of times I don't hear back from her.
Okay.
When
How about before with Christine and Deborah? Has this been going on for a while?
Deborah was never really a part of it. Christine, would get back to me, but I didn't feel an urgency. So it's been a while.
Okay, thank you.
I did get back to her, but not immediately.
Future other discussion. Motion. Councilor Engel.
Just to follow up what Councilor Page said, that was exactly as it went, was last October when things were just not where we needed them to be. And Ms. Gatley said it would cost $1,000 to upgrade the website. And it was decided that if we were going to spend $1,000, perhaps we should just put it out to bid. And that was how it played out. And Councilor Luke, I've not been in charge. I just was the one who I talk about it the most. I manage websites away from city council, and I'm not involved with this website and as it should be. And so I'm just kind of aware. That's why I know like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress or whatever. And I'm aware of how websites work and things like that. But I've been very careful to stay away from being involved in what the website looks like and putting, I certainly don't put anything on it or anything like that. And of course, as a city councilor, I did not put out an RFP. And just like Lori said, that she talks to the city staff for the input. She has asked me for input in the past, and I always have said, you really need to talk to the city. She sent it to, I think, to all of us this time as a concept, and I responded back to her from my city email address with her some input about her concept, but in no way am I in charge of this. And we were just thoroughly dissatisfied with what the website looked like last fall.
Thank you. Further discussion or a motion?
I still motion that we continue on with Laurie. She's already 3/4 of the way done. We have it finished with the new one, a new template in a week or two. And I've seen some of the new stuff and the layout. And like I said, earlier in the other meeting, is a lot of it is someone can't meet your expectation unless you have that expectation clearly expressed to them. And I've been an employer for many years, and I've learned that. So without any kind of a contract or expectation, it's hard. And when you look at $20 a month, and she had sent some emails and weren't getting, information back quickly, it doesn't, if I was her also, I'd say, well, they don't really care that much, or that's the feeling I would get. I know that what we're looking for is a more proactive approach. And I think that that's something that we should make extremely clear to Lori, and actually have some things in writing of the expectations. And because then this never happens again. It's easy to just review. And sorry, I just feel like we should maybe right the ship. She's got a lot of experience and a lot of an amazing, portfolio, especially with municipalities and so forth. And I've spoken with her personally to know that she's more than happy to take input from others and community members and work as a team. And I just feel like that's a good move. So that would be my motion, was to continue on with that and let her finish what she started a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I agree with
Greg, a second. So I have a motion, Councilor Luke, to award the contract to Lori Gatley. Second. Second, Councilor Shepherd. Discussion, Councilor Shepherd.
Yeah, Lori's been involved in Detroit for decades, and she's also a community volunteer. She's actually she's the one that initiated the petition to get the flashing light down at the crosswalk on Highway 22, and it took over 1,000 signatures to get ODOT to do that. But she's involved with the community, and like a lot of us, she lost a home there, and I think she has a stake in the city. But I think we ought to continue until October.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of issuing or continuing the website management with Lori Gatley signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Nay.
I'm sorry.
Nay.
So unmute and, well, let's do it again. Councilor Page.
Nay.
Councilor Luke.
Aye.
Councilor Smith.
Nay.
Councilor Engel.
Shelley,
Nay.
you're muted.
Nay, sorry.
Counselor Tesdale,
Aye.
and I have to vote aye for a lot of what Mr. Luke said. Okay, so that passes 4-3. Okay, moving along, Highland Water Contract Amendment. Would this be Rob? Rob?
Maybe I'll let Kenny talk, answer any questions about this, but this is a contract amendment to basically add additional time to Highlands operations time in that we needed to finish the flushing and leak repair.
Okay. So do I have a motion? I need a motion.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand him.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Rob. Can you try it again?
Yeah, make sure can you hear me there?
Yes.
Tim? Okay. So this contract would be extending the amount of hours that Highland can bill towards flushing and leak repair, just because we needed more help from them up there during this portion of the time. Kenny, do you have anything to add with that?
I imagine I'll just answer questions as counselors have them.
Okay. Questions for HBH? Counselor Page.
Let's just get this thing in a nutshell. Essentially, how much more did they burn in time on this thing? And I don't mean to be derogatory about how much time did they burn. I understand why the time is there. How much additional time did this end up being?
This is, at the end of the day, a very substantial amount of time. In order to do flushing, the system had to be operated 24/7, which meant we had to have manpower on site 24/7 for about a week and a half. So I can very quickly total this up if counselor would like.
But you guys did not have the anticipation of this, nor did they.
So I was anticipating needing extra help, but I wasn't anticipating the severity of the issues I would have with the Breitenbush intake. Having it plug up and requiring 24-hour maintenance and operation was not something that we were considering when we were going through and getting this originally put together with Highland. So we just needed a lot more staff hours, so we had to adjust the contract to allow for a big push to get the system online.
Where's this money coming from to pay this additional contract?
My understanding is that at least some of my understanding is that this is going to be coming through FEMA. Although I'll have Rob correct me there if I'm wrong, but I believe that this is going to come out of FEMA money. Some portion of it is, there's still a full consideration to be had with the RNG Alliance, which if counselors want me to get into, I can. But it's a complicated issue, which can be difficult to talk about in a session.
So the flushing here, yeah, we have ultimately one source of money, that's FEMA, and the FEMA project manager has opened what we call a short project, which is small projects under $150,000, and that's something that they can get money for right away. It doesn't have to go through the whole, several month long process that the normal FEMA things like what we would be using to rebuild the permanent treatment plant for. So that ultimately the money is coming from FEMA. The Special Public Works Fund loan, grant and loan, that can be used as a bridge loan, just as if the FEMA funds get held up. So.
Okay, I understand where the money's coming from. I'm just gonna provide some input here that I may or may not be in order when I do this, but we've got a lot of government money on the sidelines for various projects to pull this town out of the disaster it's in. That being said, from my perspective, we do not have an open checkbook to have things like this oversight on this extension with Highland Water to the level that it is. And if we continue down this path, running over like this and not being certain of where we're headed before we get there, we run the risk of getting short called on some of our government money. So I feel that we need to be more accurate in our anticipation of where we're headed with things like this, with you guys being our forefront with that. That's it. That's the end of my comment.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely understood.
Okay. Further discussion. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the additional contract.
I have a motion, Councilor Page, to approve the additional contract. Second?
I'll second that. This is Counselor Tisdale.
Councilor Tisdale seconds. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. We may be running out of time here if we get shut off at 9:30. Just be aware of that. Temporary change to city offices. Staff is requesting that while we'll be open from 8:30 to 5, that they would like to go to 8:30 to 12:30, 2 days a week, preferably Tuesday and Thursday, so they can finish and catch up on work that they're falling behind on because of numerous telephone calls and other daily interruptions they are experiencing, and they are experiencing a lot of phone calls. This is not unprecedented. We did it before to give staff a chance to catch up on some record keeping a few years ago, and it wasn't as hectic then as it is now. So, is there any objection, Councilor Page?
My item agenda 9.4 says Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, I'm just looking at the letter here. On my agenda, it just says change city hall hours. So that's all right.
Okay,
I had an updated agenda, so probably it got dropped. So thank you for that.
All right.
So is there objection to allowing the office to close to the public after phone calls from the 8:30 to 12:30, 2 days a week, preferably or Wednesday and Thursday?
No objection.
Hearing no objection, it's passed. Letter to the city council from Chad Gilliland. Basically, we first of all, thank you for the processing and approving the front property setback variance request applied for using Class C variance and Type 3 procedure that I asked to use or follow. It was much appreciated. My thoughts were captured during my attendance and comment at the planning commission meeting. I'm also thankful for many supportive comments made by multiple cities officials in both planning commission and city council meetings held on the evening of 1/12/121 in regard to the still open discussion and consideration of possible partial refund of the funds I provided to the city that covered this application request. I wanted to outline a few summary thoughts. with full detail already contained in previous reports that I was unfortunately not able to provide in person during the city council meeting. I did attend the virtual city council meeting call for the first 30 minutes. I had stepped away for a brief moment when I attempted to log back on. The Zoom link did not work. I'm not passing blame. I'm not sure what happened. My apologies. I texted McCray Carmichael and let her know after multiple failed attempts. It is my understanding that setback dimensions are reviewed by the city of Detroit using the plot plan that is one of several documents submitted to the building permit process. The plot plan I submitted was reviewed and approved without comment, and the night setback was discovered in the field the day of the foundation concrete pour by Marion County inspectors. I take full responsibility for not drawing on the plot plan the front yard setback dimensions perpendicular to the property line. That said, I believe that this should have been questioned, discovered during the plot plan review process, which is also a fee-based service with the building permit application. Several city officials seem to agree with all the VIA comments as the January city council meeting. I most certainly would have explored an alternative method of approval. When I asked the City of Detroit office to consider present options, I was explicitly told that the only way forward was for the very costly time and dollars variance process that I worked through. All of these recorded in email exchanges. I welcome any questions. Email or phone is fine. Email or phone is fine. I appreciate anything that can be done about a possible partial refund of fees incurred, and in the consideration of what I would call partial blame and fairness, I consider myself a good neighbor. We are new to Detroit and we love it. Nothing will change that. Best regards, Chad Gilliand. So tonight we have to discuss the variance or what the refund of dollars. Discussion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go, Councilor Page.
I'd like to make a motion that the city step out of any of the refund process. If Marion County finds themselves willing to refund on this, any part of this from the fees they may have collected, so be it. But I think the city stands pat where they're at. They're related to fees.
Okay, the motion is to defer to the county on refunding of fees. And my understanding is McCray still here?
She is.
McCray? She dropped. Oh, there you are. So he had to give $2,000. If that's not all used, my understanding is he gets a refund of what wasn't used.
Mm-hmm. And looking back on our records, I didn't know this was going to be on the agenda. I apologize.
Sorry.
But what I can share is I think he's going to receive maybe about $900 back from the fees that were taken in on the deposit. So, you know, in terms of the level of service that he has to pay for the application. So,
okay, thank you.
He will be, in light of the application fee, he will be getting that money back, some money back just based on that deposit.
I don't think it's that much, McCray. It's about 526.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
just from COG's perspective, I apologize for not.
No, that's fine.
having
Thank you very much.
Better information. Yeah. But
So,
some fees.
as I understand, Councilor Page, your motion is to just refund any unused monies as would happen normally. Does that make sense?
Whatever the county is willing to cough up.
Which would be that whatever the refund is.
Yeah.
Okay. Further discuss. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second, Councilor Engel. Discussion. Councilor Luke.
We had discussed, I think, McCray, when this came up, we didn't even know, and somebody was going to find out what part of that whole thing, because as I recall, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was $375 for the first initial
pre-app,
the initial application to see if it's even applicable to renew. Then it was $1,875 to actually go through the Class C process.
Yep.
No.
So a type 3 land use application, which a Class C variance is, requires a pre-application conference first for $375, and That application happened in August, where it was determined that the amount of the variance request was such that he would need to do a type 3 variance, right? And then, the options being, I'm sorry to say that this is the option, but the option was that he could proceed with the variance application to be able to keep the footing where it was for the covered portico, or he could remove that. I know that's an extreme option, but I still want to present that there was an option to do something different at that moment. And he decided to proceed with the variance application, which you all approved. So.
Yeah, I just didn't know what the part of the fees were that would even go to the city.
I could explain that. I could explain
Kelly,
that.
that's okay, Kelly.
Well,
Okay.
we need to know how much. We need to know how much you guys need to know how much he paid. He paid $1,800 for the city planner and the city engineer, and $200 to the city.
Thank
That's
you.
what he paid.
Thank you. So the motion in the second is to just allow the county to refund any unused funds that haven't already.
I just want to clarify, I don't think there's any unused funds from the county. Like the land use application fees are city fees that came in, that process, the scheduling, the notice, the staff report, my time with y'all, Kelly's time, the city engineer's time reviewing. That's what that's for. Getting county fees would be for the building permit potentially, but the county doesn't have anything on with regard to this $2,000 that we're talking about for this land use application. So I just wanted to clarify the detail. There's so much information that you all receive. So if I can help provide some clarity.
So Councilor Page, can you retract and reword your motion then?
Well, I will retract my last motion, but McCray, I'm under the understanding when we reviewed this on a second time, not the first time, that it was clear that the misstep on this had been landed in the county's hands.
I guess I would hesitate to really point where any misstep is in it. The building permit came in for review. The plans maybe weren't. I did not review the plans, unfortunately, to be able to directly comment, like looked at the sheet. But from what I've discerned, and even from what his letter shared with us, they weren't drawn as well as they could. That said, as staff, we can still redline. So we can look at this and find all sorts of moments, I think, where we can improve our process and not have something like this happen again for a review. But I don't know that the county inspection is when it finally came to light, but we being the city, issues that building permit out. So does that help clarify?
More or less. Well,
Yeah,
since I retracted my previous motion, I'll replace that with a new motion, and I would like to make a motion that whatever unused of Mr. Carmichael's funds are left, that they be refunded, and which is procedure and nothing more.
Okay. Councilor Page to refund whatever funds are remaining to the applicant, but nothing more. Second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilor Smith. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Oh,
aye.
Commissioner Luke.
Aye.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
Somebody was saying, okay, let's go back. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Okay, abstention, Councilor Luke. Motion passes 6-0 with one abstention. Thank you very much. Easement amendment, between the state of Oregon and city of Detroit. Rob, can you very quickly kind of tell us what this is about, or one of the HBH guys?
Yeah. So I believe this easement amendment is to allow us to put a replacement reservoir on the east side of where the existing treatment plant is. Our easement with the state only covers that area that's fenced in right now. And so we've been working with them to increase that area. I believe that's what we're talking about here. So
Yeah, that's my understanding.
yeah.
So we're gonna have to accept this easement? Is that my?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So
So
they're granting us more. Basically, they're granting us more land to put the treatment plant on, to put the reservoir on.
So do I have a motion to adopt the easement amendment, the waterline easement with the with the state of Oregon?
I motion to adopt it.
Motion, Counselor Luke, to adopt the amendment or the easement.
Second.
Second, Counselor Page. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Same sign. Abstentions. Motion passes unanimously. Any questions on letters sent? Comments or questions on letters received? Mayor's reports, just very quickly. I'm going to start with the minutes. You'll see just a list of appointments so that you know kind of what I am. Some good news, I guess, in the works. We've been bemoaning the lack of state funding or state help. There are two things being proposed. Senator Girard, who is our senator for the area, is on the Ways and Means Committee of the Oregon Legislature, which is a very good committee to be on. He approached the county and asked how much money they wanted for the sewer from the state. They told him they would like 10 million. He went back to them and said that's not enough. Ask for 20. So $20 million is being requested for the sewer project. We have just received late last night. I received an email from the county asking for a projection of lost revenue to the city from property taxes and DOT funds, water rates, and Christine is doing a good job of coming up with those numbers. We are going to submit the form they've submitted. They're going to go to the legislature asking for lost revenue funds for cities affected by the wildfire. So hopefully we'll have some action there. Those take legislative action, so we'll have to see what goes on, but there has been some motion in that way. I've had 3 conversations, one in person with Congressman Schrader in the last 2 weeks. What I will say to him is the first one was just he calls about once every quarter, the mayors in the area, just to kind of get updates. He was in Detroit last Friday and went up and met with him there. And then when everything hit about the USDA grant, I got a phone call from him between votes in Washington on what was going on, and he gave him an update there. So that's where that second phone call came from. So with that, I'll just, in the interest of time, I'll move on. Police Commissioner, Councilor Smith, we won't look to you unless you have something to say about the Police Commission.
I do not at this time. Nothing to report.
Thank you. Councilor Shepherd, briefly, if we could, the Street Commissioner's report.
Yeah, well, we've got 2 paving grants and 1 walkway grant in the works for this season. Our city streets are really taking a beating, partly because the water project, they didn't pave the areas that they tore up before the fire. I'd like to thank the Forest Service for cutting down those hazard trees at the end of Tumble Street and Kenny. That's a big relief. There was some pretty scary looking trees there. Let's see. I think we're going to need a Vector router. Maybe the county or ODOT could provide one, but we've got several culverts that are plugged up with sediment. I've noticed that when they were flushing the streets. We should try to take care of that sometime this spring. Also, I was wondering, have we received any census figures? Because that's related to our gas tax money. We get, I believe we get $78 per capita. And I'm wondering if we did to get the figures, are the figures going to be before the fire or after? Because we spend about, well, we get about $1,000 a month from the gas tax, and our light bill is between $1,200 and $1,300 a month, and that's what we use to pay the light bill. But I just wondered if we've received any census figures yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
That'll be a while.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Water Commissioner.
No report.
Building Commissioner.
For the second month in a row, I haven't received any reports from Marion County. So I can't speak. I know I've signed off on, well, I've seen 2 building permits, but I haven't signed off on them. So I'm waiting for county reports to be sent to me. Sorry.
Parks and Rec.
So I got a couple things that I want to cover as quickly as I can. We have got a volunteer construction, the Santiam wildfire relief people are funding a build of a new pavilion in the park. They need direction from us on this Timber Town look that we're going to be going for with this thing. This is going to be a 100% donated build. We're providing them the spot in the park. It's going to be an amphitheater, and it's going to be right. I just some of their first proposals in talking with us, they're going to do this thing up right. It's going to be a pictorial, historical deal of the canyon that's kind of an end portal or a beginning portal from whichever way you're coming, if you would, related to the Santiam Canyon and the wildfires. And, you know, the people that have been significantly involved, this could be a great place maybe for Harold Hill's plaque as this thing evolves. I think there's going to be some brick selling, but this thing is going to break ground as soon as they can get some direction from the city and or city planning on our new theme. So the sooner we can get that to them, fast track, the better for this thing moving forward. They've already got a square footage, a footprint ID on it. They're gathering to move forward in the spring, and I would hope we can make sure that we're providing them with everything that we can. So at the soonest, I'd like to move forward on that. Second of all, we've been contacted by some private individuals that own property in Detroit, and they've had a home up there for 50 years. And they have reached out, and they would like to be involved and pay for a serious upgrade to additional playground equipment in the park. And they're very serious about this project as well. That can go hand in hand with this pavilion as the two things, the plans roll out. And so I'll be keeping them up to speed on this. And at some point, we probably should have some level of committee, maybe talking about this to help guide that portion of it. We're not going to be guiding anything on the donated building because they're coming in with the plan, and we're certainly going to, I guess, have a final say as a city. But at the end of the day, it's not going to cost us a dime on either parts of these, and they're great donations that are going to be a real positive for the city. So I just like to make sure that we are in a position to provide the information needed there.
Yeah, I get a question.
Councilor Shepard.
Yeah, we used to have a park committee. Are we going to try to revamp that again? Well, we were building the two parks. We had a committee that was involved with some of that stuff.
Well, it certainly couldn't hurt.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we need to keep in mind on the pavilion side of it, they're going to build what they can build, and we're not going to be able to change a lot of that, but I don't think we're going to find ourselves to have a problem with what's coming either. These are some pretty professional guys that they're trying to set something in the canyon for a lifetime. So I think it's a real great deal. But a committee of some sort might not hurt, that's for sure.
What's the square footage on that pavilion?
It's big enough that it's going to have an amphitheater on one side of it. So I would guess that it's somewheres based on the walk around that we did with some stakes. I think it's 12 to 1,500 foot square, type structure. It's pretty decent size structure. It's going to have a stage on it, so there could be a decent sized band that can play there. They're pointing it towards the lake side of things, so it's not blaring back into the city. They've had a real thought process on this.
Okay.
We have not got, by the way, we have not got a formal plan from them, and they will be submitting a formal plan, but they need that piece of design guidance from our side to make sure they put the right twist on that.
Okay. So we will provide that guidance, I presume, and go from there.
Need to.
Yeah. Anything else?
That's it.
Moving along, emergency preparedness. I will have nothing really. We're just continuing. Planning Commission update. We will be declaring a vacancy as soon as we receive now Councilor Smith's resignation and declare a vacancy there. The community center project looks like it's going to go into escrow in the next 5 to 7 days, is my understanding. They will come to us for a land use variance. The plan is to put that to the Planning Commission on February 23rd. We are finding out that there is some difficulty in finding a quorum for that meeting. Carmen McCray has looked at it, and we can go straight to City Council if we can't get a Planning Commission meeting. So we may look at having another special meeting on the 23rd to allow for that variance. To do that, if it goes into escrow, I see it, Mr. Councilor Engel, he is willing to sign, my understanding is to sign a letter that says if it doesn't somehow pass, that he would restore the property to its original condition. All he would be able to do in the time we see is level some property or level some dirt, which would make it good for the next thing. But that would be something we could consider on the February 23rd. Councilor Engel.
I believe that your Planning Commission chair is on, Davis Evenson is on Zoom tonight.
Davis, are you on?
I see his little face.
I
There he
am.
is.
I'm listening to you. Just keep on rolling.
Does that sound about what we were talking about, Davis? Because Davis and I talked about this today. You're having trouble finding a quorum for the 23rd?
That's what I'm hearing.
Okay. So we'll stay on top of it. If we do come up with a quorum, for them, it should be a short meeting, I would hope.
I did sign that I was available on that.
Okay, but you're not on the Planning Commission.
Oh,
that's a Planning Commission problem. So we will, if he can't come up with a quorum, we will submit it to Planning Commission so they can make a recommendation to us. But we've been told that the way our everything's written in the city, we could conceivably go right by them. I would like to go through the whole process just to be clear to everybody. Okay, North Sandy Joint was, is Ken Woodward here?
Yes.
You give us a very brief report.
It's always brief.
Yes.
I'm at the end. No pun intended. I want to update what you said about asking for 20 million. It's been asked for 64.123 million. So that's been an ask. Shelley has put on our website, northsantiamsewer.net. Our town hall meeting is February 24th. Everybody, no matter who you are, what questions you have, send them to the website or keep them there. Shelley will be letting you know further on when the meeting is. It's 6 p.m. to 7:30. McCray, I'm sure that's correct. But ask your questions. If I want to quote that we're up to 5,000 to 10,000 people that can be on this webinar, website, Zoom meeting. So this is a big deal. And I want everybody to know, the people that have been involved and know the history of this project dating back into the 90s, the state park has always been involved. They want to be a part of this. And now we have the Forest Service.
Yeah.
They are wanting to be a part of it. This is big. So we want to make it affordable to everybody. And that's what our objective is. So with the Forest Service, state parks, IDANA, Detroit, Gates and Mill City, this is a big project. We're looking to make it work. It has to be affordable, and we need everybody to ask questions. Go to our website or wait till February 24th, starting at 6 p.m. We'll have a Zoom meeting. Everything is on the website. You did put it on there, Shelley. I seen it. You know me. I will look. So let's go. Let's rock and roll. And there is a technical advisory meeting, and it had all the state, federal, and Marion County local officials. They all understand the project. They all know about the project. And what I said is that Detroit, which I represent, Detroit does not want to rebuild back to their footprint. They want to be brought back in. They want to be brought into, the 21st century. Let's need infrastructure, underground power lines, and internet, and the whole ball and wax. Let's don't go backwards. Let's go forwards. That's all.
Thank you. Next meeting scheduled for March 4th, 2021, 6:30 p.m. We are trying to get back into in-person meetings somewhere. We have a couple options that I'm exploring. So especially if we go down with possibly going down in COVID lingo later this week. So we'll have to see what that's all about and go from there.
Mr. Mayor.
Any announcements? Councilor Tisdale.
Yeah, you forgot me. I'm tourist. I'm the tourist.
Oh God, it's not there. Okay, I'm sorry. Go for it. I'm sorry.
I was touring around Detroit today and found Gary King, and he wanted me to mention that he's got a good supply of firewood. So somehow if we could get the news out that that if people need firewood, that he's got it and ready to give that away. And then also he was wondering about the status update on Mackey area. He was wondering about when CPI and Zipley were going to drop those, because he's ready to start cutting up there. And he mentioned I don't know if his last special session or council meeting, that was going to be addressed. And over and out. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. No, no. Okay, if there are no other council or Bill, Mr.
Mr.
Monahan.
Mayor, were you going to speak about the contract review board? The item I sent you yesterday with the findings on.
Could you, tell us about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so under Chapter 304 of the Municipal Code, the council has the authority through its position as a contract review board to take actions on procurement. So what I've been asked to do for the USDA grant is to take a look at the process that's been followed to make the procurement of Olson LLC to work on the temporary water treatment plant. So as I looked at the contract review board rules, it appears to me that there would be a prompt action by the council to adopt some findings that would be necessary so that I can fully state that the council followed its process. I'm confident that you did from what I have seen from the documentation that Matt from HBH and Kelly have provided to me that show that you have fully considered an exemption to allow for a contract that does not go through a full bid process. But to do that, your code requires that you become the contract review board. You put on a different hat and you take some action. So I've sent to the mayor and to Matt a copy of some draft findings. And if you would indulge me, I think we can probably do this in 5 to 10 minutes. But what you would need to do would be to recess from being the city council and then reconvene as the contract review board. So you all would become board members instead of council members for the moments that you would then consider these findings.
I'm in favor.
Okay. Any objection? Okay, so I will adjourn the city council meeting at 9:57. Councilor Luke?
Councilor Tesdale had asked something, and I was actually going to also ask the same thing she did, because last week or a couple weeks ago we talked about the Ziply fiber and CPI and working with them, and Gary King's having a heck of a time, and he's at a standstill, and nobody's helped him out like we said we would.
Okay, and I haven't received calls back. I will get back on that tomorrow. And
Okay,
I'll bring in Danielle Gonzalez, who she evidently has a little more pull than I do. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you for reminding me. So I adjourn the regular city council meeting of the city of Detroit at 9:58 p.m. And I call to order the contract review board on.
Right. So you're adding this to your council agenda. So before you adjourn the meeting, could you add to the council agenda an item to convene as the contract review board to consider adopting findings to award the procurement to provide for the drinking water project?
Okay, so, and then we'd vote on that?
Then you would vote on recessing into that. Yeah, you'd vote to add that to the agenda to become the contract review board. Then you go into being the contract review board, finish that work, and then come back into your regular council meeting and then adjourn from the regular council meeting.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
Oh God, I don't think I can repeat that.
Your motion would be to go into, to add to the agenda tonight an opportunity for the contract review board to meet to consider findings on the procurement of the temporary water treatment plant.
I make a motion that we go into meeting as contract review board to review the contents of the contract.
To adopt findings.
How much more is there in that?
There's not much more. To review and potentially adopt findings on the procurement of the temporary water treatment plant.
To review and potentially procure the contents of the contract. Was that what it was?
The findings. The key word is findings.
findings in the, okay, findings in the contract.
Yep.
Correct?
I have, thank you, Councilor Page.
I'll guarantee you my wedding vows were one heck of a lot shorter because I remembered them.
Thank you.
I
Second,
second that.
Councilor Luke seconds. Discussion?
Jim?
Yes, Councilor Page.
Just got one quick thing. There's a lady in Gates who is involved with Newton Trucking right across the Gates Bridge Road, but she's got 54,000 pounds of seed, grass seed, for anybody who needs seed for erosion efforts, whatever. But
Okay. Well, we have a motion on the floor, Greg. We have to address that. Okay. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Abstentions, motion passes unanimously. I will adjourn the regular council session of February 9th at 10:01 p.m. And I call to order the
Contract Review Board.
Contract Review Board at 10:01.
Okay.
So, Mr.
So
Monahan.
typically you do a roll call, but we understand that all of the members of the city council have been here for this meeting. So each member of the city council is now sitting as a board member of the Contract Review Board under Chapter 3.04 of your municipal code. That being said, then the mayor is the chair of the board. So Mr. Mayor, if you'd like, I can give you a quick overview of what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, last week, the city council acted to identify Olson LLC as the recipient of the contract to provide the temporary water treatment plant. And what you've done is you've utilized a provision of Chapter 3.04, which allows you to exempt competitive bids. The Contract Review Board, by a resolution, can exempt contracts from competitive bidding. You have that resolution, you've already passed that. But what needs to go with that resolution is some findings that identify why you have utilized that process. So I drafted a set that I'm not sure if all of you have had a chance to review fully, but I know the mayor has had them. And what they do is they go through a number of whereas clauses where I state that there was an emergency situation that you've all been living through for several months, that the recovery efforts as they've proceeded, you've identified that the water system has been damaged and there's the necessity to deliver potable water so that the residents can rebuild and return to the community. Then I stated what the provisions of Chapter 304 are, and then said that the Contract Review Board makes a number of findings. And I took these findings out of the materials that Matt has already provided to you and you have discussed. For instance, that HBA complied with Chapter 3.04 by procuring the services of West Tech Technologies to provide a water treatment package plant. And I identified what that process was. You received a number of proposals, chose them. Then after determining that renting a package plant long-term until the city's water system is fully restored is not feasible, so the council requested HBH to begin a process to obtain a contractor to build a temporary water treatment plant on the site of the Burns City Reservoir. Then HBH undertook that task and identified that Olson LLC has the experience and the ability to provide the services needed by the city in a cost and time efficient manner. USDA agreed that the city can use a non-competitive procurement and sole source the construction work for Olson upon submittal by Olson of a reasonable bid and the city's compliance with the Oregon procurement law. And that's the process you're going through tonight, is to make sure we're consistent with the procurement law, which is based on your code and state law. Olson has been identified as a company that has constructed a similar plant following a procurement process in the neighboring city of Idana, where the bidding was done in late 2019 and construction was done this past year, 2020. So your finding is that Olson LLC has contracted and expressed a willingness to take on the project. They have submitted a cost estimate that, although it's not final, has been accepted as appropriate and reasonable. Then by selecting Olson LLC, the city benefits from the use of some recent bid documents and reliable price estimates The city knows that it's obtaining an experienced contractor ready and willing to duplicate a construction effort in the same geographic area and within the same conditions as applied when Idana had its system built. So the contract will result in substantial cost savings for the city, which is another provision of Chapter 304. Then finally, HBH has documented that by awarding a non-competitive procurement to Olson LLC, which can utilize its recent experience in documents, plans, specifications, and personnel used in Idana, it can reduce the time required to complete the project and restore drinking water by at least 2 months over a competitive process, resulting in additional cost savings. So substantial cost savings will be realized in the preparation of bid packages to procure bids, evaluate the bids, award the bid process, as well as restore water to the community faster. So the city will experience substantial cost savings, and its residents will individually experience savings as they're able to move their building plans forward. A delay in awarding a contract to Olson LLC last week could have resulted in the company not being available later if selected following a complete procurement process. So the council tentatively awarded the contract at its meeting of February 1, and by adoption of these findings, the council, acting as the contract review board, finds that Chapter 3.04 of the Detroit Municipal Code has been met. So what we need is a motion to adopt those findings tonight
By the board or the council?
by the board.
Okay,
So a board member would make the motion.
okay. Do I have a motion? So Councilor Engel,
I make a motion to adopt the findings found by the board tonight.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Councilor Page. Discussion? All those in favor of making the recommendation to council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. I adjourn this board meeting at 10:07 and reconvene this the Detroit City Council meeting at 10:07. Do I
And
have a
just for
motion to accept? I'm sorry?
Just for clarification, the board has adopted the findings, and now you're sending them on to the city council. And it'd be great if the council can also adopt those findings and also ratify the decision that was made last week based on these findings, which you considered through the process last week.
Do I have a motion? As a council member.
So I motion to adopt the findings that the committee.
Contract review board,
Excuse me,
the contract review board,
the contract review board decided on.
adopted.
That's it.
And there was something else, Bill, and recommend.
And with those findings, ratify the decision to award the contract that you made last Monday.
And with those findings, ratify the decision at the
Ratify the
last
contract.
month.
Can we take that motion from you, Bill, and say that's what he did?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that. So, discussion on the motion. All those.
We need a second.
Oh, second, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll
Second, Councilor Page. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously, and without objection, I will adjourn this session of the Detroit City Council at 10:09 p.m. Thank you, everyone, for your patience and long night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, counselors.
Thank you all.
Thank you for everybody's hard work. Thank you.
Oh, boy.
Sorry, cutting off, Greg.
Oh. Yeah, anyway, she's got 2 semi loads of seed, so